In the eerie world, a bullet is priced at 2 billion. But those eerie creatures not only do not think it's expensive, but also compete to top up their VIP cards. The eerie emperor even treats me as a VIP, not only arranging a presidential suite, but also letting Sadako accompany me. This is because 2.5 years ago, I took over a gas cylinder factory and, relying on the arms are king system, became a world-renowned arms tycoon. A few months ago, a horror game arrived, and I was selected to participate in an eerie instance with a death rate as high as 99%. At that time, I thought, isn't this just selling arms in a different place? At that time, I was in the process of a $1 billion arms deal in the Gulf of Aden. During the gap before the transfer arrived, the big bearded man across from me pointed at the thrilling game of drawing names and asked, "Do you want to join us?" I shook my head, but deep down I knew that if the Dragon Kingdom failed again this time, it would face a crisis of national destruction. If it really drew me, I would just flatten the city where the strangeness descended. Bullets and grenades couldn't handle the strangeness, but ballistic missiles might just do the trick. As soon as the voice fell, I suddenly heard in my ear, "The player has been selected for the SSS level instance, Dark Hotel." Instantly, I disappeared on the spot. Then, the game prompt sounded again, "Please players go to the mission location, Dark Hotel for check-in." I haven't reacted yet. Couldn't help but curse. Where did this get me? I thought that in the horror game, I might draw the Dragon Kingdom, but I didn't expect to actually draw myself. Now the fate of the entire Dragon Kingdom rests solely on me. I calmed down for a moment, helplessly surveyed the surrounding environment, only to see a castle in the distance, surrounded by terrifying whales, eerie and terrifying. But in an instant, that castle turned into a black vortex, as if to devour me. I struggled to break free from this eerie mental pollution. Suddenly I remembered that I had a military system, but when I opened the system, I found that the originally high-tech system interface now resembled flesh and blood. The previous AK-47, Dongfeng Express, all disappeared, replaced by weapons made of flesh and blood. Extremely eerie. Shocked, I muttered to myself, this is letting me continue doing arms business in this bizarre world. I looked at my meager balance of 500 bizarre coins, flipped directly to the bottom, and chose the flesh and blood sand eagle with a price of only 300. Although cheap, it can cause harm to anomalies of level S and below, and can also resist mental pollution attacks. I didn't expect the system to start a promotion. Buy one get one free. I carefully examined the 2 blood and flesh sand eagles in my hands. Although they still looked like sand eagles, they were made of crimson flesh and blood. At this moment, in the live broadcast room, the Dragon Country audience saw that 3 players from other countries had arrived at the Dark Hotel, but they had not seen my figure for a long time. Feeling extremely anxious, suddenly, with a loud noise, I kicked open the hotel's door, only to see the 3 people standing shivering in the corner, being scolded by a strange level, the hotel receptionist. Although the hotel receptionist is petite and cute, upon closer inspection, the scar from the corner of the mouth to the earlobe, the hollow eye sockets without eyeballs, and the 3 people without weapons cannot withstand this kind of mental pollution, and can only hide in the corner trembling. Upon seeing me kick open the door and enter the hotel lobby, I thought to myself, this is an SSS level mysterious hotel. Ordinary mysteries cannot enter, but those who dare to kick the door open are most likely esteemed guests. I quickly ran over, bowed, and said, "Esteemed guest, welcome." She looked at me with a terrifying smile. "Ah, what is this?" I lifted my leg and kicked, sending the receptionist flying 3 meters away. He quickly put on black sunglasses and a mask, and crawled over to me. He did look much better with the sunglasses and mask on. "Excuse me, miss, are you here to report to work? Check in? Dude, you've been acting for half a day. You're a player." In an instant, the hotel lobby was filled with a strange cry, frightening the 3 people in the corner. Just as he was about to make a move, I grabbed his little hand first and said, "You are the most beautiful girl I have ever seen." The hotel front desk ghost had never heard such gentle words since its existence. The eerie pressure gradually dissipated. The burning gaze, warm hands, made her heart flutter like a deer in confusion. "What are you talking about?" She hesitated to pull her hand out. "Dealing with the tricky situation is not my forte, but dealing with clients, I am really good at it." I reached out and took off his mask, touching the scar that looked like a centipede. The next second, the front desk split open with a terrifying oppressive feeling sweeping over me again. "Are you ugly?" I faced the gaping mouth just inches away, still smiling. "Not ugly, but rather cute." Just as I was about to go further, a warning prompt flashed, "Check-in countdown 1 minute. Violators will be severely punished." Upon hearing the prompt, I dismissed the idea of continuing to tease him, quickly signed on the check-in form, and turned to the hotel front desk and said, "From now on, you are my good friend." The front desk nodded foolishly, completely lacking the eerie oppressive feeling of grade A, but rather like a girl next door. At this moment, not only the three people in the corner, but also the live audience in the live broadcast room, were all stunned. What? Can it still be operated like this? In just a few minutes, the heads of horror games from various countries also broke their inherent understanding. Hotel lobby. Xiao Chen told the waiter about the layout of the hotel and the customers. The second and third floors belong to the hotel's general area. Customers are mostly ordinary and strange, with no special circumstances. Security guards will not patrol here. Fourth floor belongs to the VIP area. Customers range from grade A to grade D, and security guards patrol every 2 hours. The fifth floor belongs to the high-end VIP area. Most customers are A-level, and the security team leader leads the team to patrol every half an hour. The sixth floor belongs to the same premium VIP customers. Unlike the fifth floor, this has a large number of S-class customers. The head of security is stationed here for long periods of time, except for patrol hours. The seventh floor belongs to the supreme VIP area. Creepy employee off-limits area with confidential customer information and no security patrols. And Sin clearly informed the four that there were customers on every floor. It then handed an employee handbook to Su Xiaoying before leaving the hotel lobby. Ding! Obtained weird props. Employee manual *1. Familiarizing yourself with this manual may help you tremendously in getting through your copy. Except for the gain hints. A system prompt also appeared in front of Su. Employee handbook recovery value *35 creepy coins. Grizzly Ichiro was the first to hold back after Sin left. Why should this guy get this treatment when it almost got screwed over by the loudmouth monster? The hotel is inhabited by a large number of spooky people, and there are definitely clues in the manual. He quickly rushed towards Su, in a vain attempt to grab the employee handbook. Kid handed over the employee handbook. Little ghosts? A ferocious light flashed in Su's eyes as he sniffed. The past 2 years of peddling weapons around the world had allowed him to master the many languages of the blue planet. After all, some business is more comfortable when you do it yourself. So, in the first moment, he heard that it was a head ghost. What an enemy! When I first came in, I was thinking about how to clean up the ghosts. There you go. A player on the ghost side was also selected. Before Su could do anything, Grizzly Ichiro flew out backwards. After screaming miserably, he fell in the distance. Life and death unknown. What kind of thing dares to speak to Mr. Su like that? Maoist? Su sniffed and fixed his eyes on it. Tolov? Yellowtora's eyes lit up, not realizing that Su remembered him. Mr. Su, I didn't think you'd remember me. That's natural. Your brother is a big client of mine. Brother Yellowtorov is the man in charge of the Woolly Bear mercenaries. Su and Yellowtorov have met several times at the dinner table. Brother Four Flames is too well connected, isn't he, to meet acquaintances here? It's a sure thing. There's a greater chance of getting through with someone joining forces. A flicker of scorn flashed in Belek's eyes. I didn't realize that Su and Yellowtorov knew each other. In order to get the information, he still hardened himself and came over. Mr. Su, we are all players. I think we should help each other. That's certainly fine, sir. The very different reactions before and after made the pop-ups explode. Lighthouse Nation viewers have taken a moral stand and started to condemn Su. There is no employee handbook and you will receive severe penalties if you break the hotel rules. Damn, is this guy helping each other in the copy? Our Mr. Belek is a senior player. What kind of attitude does this guy have? How dare he ask for money? Blue Star has exactly the kind of guys who are profit-oriented. It's only at Thriller Games that we've taken such heavy casualties. This is a hotel with guests on every floor. And no Mr. Belek. What are you guys taking on creepy? Seeing these comments, the Dragon audience disliked them back. Why should you be shown for free when it's your turn? That's right. This is what Fire got by his charisma. And you want it by opening your mouth? Dude, before was before. Now is now. This is an SS level copy. Don't get that whole debt out. What's wrong with letting you shell out some money for something that my brother Fire earned with his life? In addition to these, some sheepdogs have appeared. Su should be generous. There's no need for this. Su couldn't have gotten through without Mr. Belek's help. Mr. Belek is right. Players should help each other. However, these voices were quickly drowned out. Birak blushed. He was a veteran player who had gotten through 2 A-ranked copies. Previously it was the other players who paid him protection money to get through their copies safely. I didn't expect to be blackmailed first by shenanigans and then by newcomers today. Yellowtorov saw this and stepped in front of Su. Today, the war is tight. Without this supplier, their frontline ammunition rations could be in short supply. Most of all, with the fought-down territory, the Woolly Bear populace has escaped several descending copies. Seeing this, coupled with the threat of the loudmouth monster, Birak switched to a smirk and opened the panel. Player, Belek. Status, waiter. Physical fitness, 30. Spirit, 50. Ability, deduction, grade A. Mental protection, grade A. Assets, 500 weirdo coins. Overall rating, A. Mr. Sue, I can offer you protection. Sue's smile came to an abrupt end. Is this a freeloader? The customer is God to him, and the freeloader is a mortal enemy. And why is this guy so poor? With only 500 trick coins, there's no need to unlock other gear at all. What's more, with the Sandhawk at hand, why would you need such a loser to protect you? No need. Birak froze in place. After a few seconds, he asked through clenched teeth, is $1 million enough? Money. I'm not lacking. I want trick coins. Birak froze. What do you need the creepy coins for? Do we have to bribe the loudmouth monster and assign it to a safe area? How much do you want? 500. Birak took a deep breath. 300 at the most. Sue waved his hand impatiently. Buckle up and stand back and watch. Yelatarov and Belek stood behind the SO to watch up the manual. Employee handbook. Observe the hotel rules and you will be sheltered by the security guards. Violations of the employee handbook will result in severe penalties. 1. Stick to your post and do not leave it without a reason. 2. To do our best to meet all the needs of customers in the region. 3. Maintain cleanliness and hygiene in the area at all times. 4. Dress strictly and do not behave in an inappropriate manner. 5. Staff members are strictly prohibited from attacking each other, and violators will be imprisoned in the dark dungeon. 6. Strictly prohibit attacks on hotel customers. Violators wipe out. At the end of the employee handbook, there is a special regulation. If a server chooses the 7th floor, they are not required to follow the employee code. Sue's eyes lit up. No need to follow the employee code? Does that mean you can play on the 7th floor? Thinking of this, he directly used the inspection card. If the 7th floor doesn't have any shenanigans stronger than S rank, it will be the perfect place to go. With that in mind, Sue tossed the employee handbook to Yelatarov. You watch, then quietly use the OmniCheck card. Look no further. The 3D composition of the conceptual map of the old castle is densely filled with red dots. There were actually more than 300 bazaar in this 7-story ancient castle. One layer to look over. Sue was breathing more and more rapidly. No wonder this hotel is an SS-rated creepy copy. No wonder that little country, Odebia, went up in smoke in 5 minutes. So much shenanigans. No nation on the blue planet can hold out. As the floor rises, the advanced shenanigans become more and more frequent. There was even quite a bit of S-class shenanigans. When it came to the 7th floor, Sue held his breath, staring intently at the lone red dot on the concept map. Chapter 5-5. The mission opens, the nightmare descends. At this point, Sin pushed the cart and walked into the hall. Come and get your overalls. Before Sue could get up, a strong fishy odor hit his face. It made him cover his mouth and nose and roll over the couch to back up. Belek made the first dash for the cart. Yelatarov dropped his employee handbook and similarly sprinted for the cart. Grizzly Ichiro then rushes to the employee handbook. He knows that if he wants to live long in the hotel, he must familiarize himself with the employee handbook. It is only by using the rules that you can protect yourself. Unfortunately, Sue didn't give him that chance. Step ahead and pick up the employee handbook. Want to see it, kid? Grizzly Wave held back a saucy purple color. Get in the way of the big-mouthed monster staring next to him. He held back the hatred in his heart and nodded. Take the money for it. How much? 100. I only have 200 guile coins. Sue shook his head with a regretful expression. Forget it then. I'd rather see copies descend on you. Live stream. The Dragon Nation audience couldn't help themselves. They're not like ghosts. Ghosts fail and descend on SS-rated copies at best, not covering their entire country. And if Sue fails, a nightmare-level copy will descend, which will cover the entire Dragon Kingdom. What is Brother Four Flames doing? Why don't you hurry up and grab the equipment? Brother, don't blackmail the brats. Wait until all the good stuff is gone. Don't wave. You'll wave to death like chicken again later. At Scary Games, even this crappy shirt could be a creepy prop. Seeing that Suyo had put the employee handbook into his pocket, Grizzly Ichiro gritted his teeth and took out a strangely ugly-looking mannequin doll. 200 guile coins plus this prop. Creepy props, double dolls, it's a one-time prop. Use it to avoid a fatal attack. And teleported to the designated location. Sue's eyes lit up. Wouldn't you be able to go out and make waves with this? After flinging the employee handbook at the ghost, he happily walked towards the cart. After seeing this scene, the Dragon Nation viewers spat this out much less. I didn't realize Brother Fourfire was all about props. Laugh me to death. You guys, look at the ghost's face. It looks like he ate the reply. Brother, let's go see if there's anything good inside the overalls. Sue stood in front of the cart and pinched her nose. Is that necessary? Birak snorted coldly and ignored Sue. Yelatarov grinned and pulled a less disgusting-looking pair of overalls out of the cart. Mr. Sue, there's no difference in any of these overalls. They're all Class B bizarre props. Sue waved his hand in disgust. Don't. It's disgusting. Live stream. This operation made the Dragon Nation audience nervous again. Brother Four Fires, my life and family are on you. Don't be a jerk. No, brother, don't around. I just refunded my ticket. The clothes are disgusting. They might save your life. Xiao Tsing couldn't help but remind. It didn't want to lose this friend. So soon. Without coveralls, Sue would be treated like food by creepy. Sue Fire. Customers will more or less give face when they see the overalls. The Longboy audience heard these words and sighed in their hearts. There's still a lot of good shenanigans in this world. Great a creepy persuasion. Thought it would be of some use. I don't need this to go to the 7th floor. This statement was made. The whole room stopped moving. There is a vacuum in the live room. Xiao Tsing cracked her mouth wide open in fear when she heard this. The 7th floor. What is that? Which, even for the shenanigans of hotel work, is off limits. There are simply no words to describe the presence here. No creep dares to enter except the owner. Now that the owner is gone, the 7th floor has become even more of a trickless existence. It had intended to send the 2 late players, as food, to the 7th floor. Earlier, the owner threw in numerous shenanigans about not paying for a room, into the 7th floor. None of them came out alive. There is no shortage of A or even S-ranked high-level shenanigans. Imagine 7 layers of customers. How terrifying. Now that the owner wasn't in the store, it must have been even more terrifying for the 7th floor customers to be hungry for so long. No, can't go. In extreme fear, Shusin stumbled over her words a bit. That, very, scary. That's okay, I'll just go to the 7th floor. Sue smiled and walked toward Xiaoqian, reaching out to close the gaping maw. After this action passed, all the players subconsciously moved away from Sue. This guy's nuts. Even Yelichirov didn't dare to talk to Sue again. Bellick was even more dissuaded from reporting the revival. Previously, he had used reasoning that the possibility of survival into the 7th floor was 0. Grizzly quickly scanned the manual over and honestly placed it on the table. Live stream. The heart of the Dragon Nation audience is cold. They originally thought that Sue was disgusted by the clothes. Never in a million years would I have thought that he was planning to head to the 7th floor. Asterisk how terrifying is the 7th floor? A ranked weirdness is scared like this. Brother Four Flames, don't be foolish. The things inside the 7th floor are not something we can mess with. Crazy. Sue is crazy. I'm going abroad. Brother, don't be a fool. Going to the 7th floor would be looking for death. There's tons of S-class shenanigans on all 6 levels. There could be SS rank or even SS rank shenanigans in the 7th floor. Does that mean it's really going to be the end of my Dragon Kingdom? Why? Is our fate in the hands of such fools? The rest of the country's audience, likewise, looked dumbfounded. This guy from Longway is crazy. How dare he go to the 7th floor? Ha, it's still our Mr. Bellick who can be relied upon to wear these overalls. This newcomer from the Dragon Kingdom is too brave. It's a pity that this ancient country is going to perish completely. I can't believe it ended like this. People in pickles, taking in beautiful 18-year-old college students. Almost everyone had sentenced Sue to death in their hearts. The countries issued circulars at the first time, announcing the acceptance of senior talents as well as players from the Dragon Kingdom. The Wallflowers, who were already on the fence, stepped onto the plane at the first opportunity. Many more have fled to neighboring countries through the border. Head of Thriller Games in Dragonland. First announcement. After analyzing Sue's experience as well as his personality, it was determined that he had a 60% chance of passing the copy. On top of that, many senior players in the Dragon Kingdom released a joint statement. New players will be compensated with rewards for entering high-level copies. The SS-level compensation rewards are especially horrible. Sue might have gained the means to deal with the weirdness of the 7th floor. With this dose, many viewers calmed down and began to analyze the situation. Ignoring mental pollution and kicking grade A shenanigans, maybe Fire really does have the means to deal with it. By the look on Brother Four Flames' face, he seems to be looking forward to the 7th floor? Could it be that there are some special props in the 7th floor? Or is there some special reward? This employee handbook says that 7th floor employees can ignore the handbook. Is that why? Could it be that the 7th floor is not spooky inside the press? Is the front desk a no-go area on the 7th floor? Then, before you feel fear, watch the pop-ups return to normal. Other countries couldn't help but mock. Don't dream of it. Did you see the look on Mr. Bellick's face? There will definitely be a terrifying existence on this 7th floor. Mr. Bellick must have deduced the results or he wouldn't have reacted like that. Chapter 6-6. Reverse Operation. Most Deadly. Successful sale of Employee Handbook. Gained creepy coins *35. Warning, do not dispose of hotel property on your own. Penalties will apply. Soundbite. He sold the Employee Handbook while everyone was confused. I didn't realize the thriller game, the whole thing. The live audience looked dumbfounded. On the contrary, Su walked over to Xiao Qian like he was nothing. Xiao Qian, what are you waiting for? Quickly send me to the 7th floor. Su Hua, really going to the 7th floor? Shu Xin questioned Su again, trying to change his mind. The punishment is not fatal until the waiter completes his assignment, but that presence at the 7th floor is deadly. No one, human or spooky, has ever come out alive, except for the boss. Okay, on the 7th floor, the hotel will not provide you with any shelter. Su nodded. The 7th floor was the perfect place for him to go. Through the omnipotent inspection card, he knew that there was only one S-class creepy on the 7th floor, with 2 guns in hand. There's no problem defending yourself. He was also able to better utilize his strengths without the constraints of hotel rules. Ding! Assignment successful. 7th floor attendant. Specific quests will be opened automatically after reaching the 7th floor of the hotel. Under the gaze of the other players' horrified gazes, Su stepped onto the elevator heading to the 7th floor hotel. After the elevator stopped at the 6th floor, he stepped out of the elevator under the guidance of Shu Xin. The moment he exited the elevator, Su went into a trance, completely modernized and decorated in a style that is no different from a 5-star hotel. If it wasn't for the head of security, you'd really think you were back in reality. The head of security, a full 2 meters tall headless creep, wielding a rusty, oversized version of a kitchen knife, standing there alone. There was a sense of oppression. Is this S-class creepy? Mr. Su celebrated in his heart. It was a good thing that there were no SS-rank shenanigans on the 7th floor, or else he would definitely not be able to deal with them at this stage. Is this the newcomer who made a mistake? It looks delicious. It's been a long time since I've seen such a vibrant human. His popularity is popular. The corridor resounded with the sound of discussion, followed by the illumination of countless pairs of scarlet eyes. Mr. Su's sweaty hair exploded, feeling countless killing opportunities, subconsciously wanting to pull out his gun. Shu Xin reacted extremely quickly and shouted at Headless Creepy. He's a waiter on the 7th floor, only to see that Headless Creepy gently lifted the large kitchen knife. The killing intent that came against Su was shattered in an instant. Xiao Tsing stepped aside and whispered in explanation. The big man will send you there. And so Fire wants you to live 2 more days. Will do. Su nodded, then followed the Headless Creep towards the depths of the corridor. It's been a scary ride. Both the security guards and the customers were keeping a close eye on him. None of them had a seizure due to the Headless' bizarrely strong strength. Until the end of the hallway, an overgrown, mottled iron gate blocked the way. This iron door and the corridor were shaped like 2 worlds. Su felt the eerie aura emanating from that iron door and his harumps came out. It's definitely a super powerful and creepy prop. I wonder how many creepy coins it would sell for. Too bad Headless Creepy is around to dare to do so. It would absolutely chop up and feed the corridor shenanigans to Su. Not much longer. The iron gate opened. What came into view was a stairway. Headless waved the chopper weirdly, signaling Su to go in. Click, click, click. Then as the iron door closed, Su was completely engulfed in darkness. Once the mission officially opens, players from each country will open the appropriate livestream. Dragon Kingdom, Lighthouse, and Woolly Bear, the 3 thriller game leaders are all on private mode. Unless in the relative country, you cannot access the corresponding livestream. After the broadcast was plunged into darkness, viewers got worried. Mamma mia, it's so scary. So many S-rank shenanigans just now. It's really scary. Hey, why is it dark? What's going on here? Brother Fire, don't scare the brothers. The 6th floor is so terrifying. The 7th floor is simply unimaginable. Brother Fire, you must hold on. The fate of the Dragon Kingdom is in your hands. Dragon Nation, Thriller Games Task Force. In the exclusive conference room, the moment the live feed went black, the faces of the several members of the group were serious. Once something happens to Mr. Su, the Dragon Kingdom will. The man in charge sees this and rushes to the corner. In the corner, a middle-aged Taoist in a Taoist robe yawned sleepily. Taoist Spirit Void, what do you think? The middle-aged Taoist stretched and glanced at the live broadcast. Don't worry, I divined the auspicious signs before I came. This statement was made. The other members of the group's faces dissipated their depressing colors by a few moments. Simply because Taoist Master Qingshu is a superb expert who has cleared SS-ranked copies. It belongs to the SS classified person of the Dragon Kingdom. No one knows his true identity except for the special teams, a handful of top brass. If he says there's no problem, then there must be no problem. As Qingshu Daolord had said, the sound of snapping tower footsteps began to file back into the broadcast room. A string of scarlet text surfaced. If you survive here for 48 hours, you will be rewarded with an unimaginable amount of money. Su looked at the near stairway and stopped in her tracks. After loading both guns, he took a deep breath and walked into the 7th floor. The 7th floor view was expected. It's in a state of disrepair. Then the light bulbs in the corridor flickered on and off with the sound of stabbing. Stabbing electricity. The walls were covered with bloody handprints and several spreads of human-sized blood. There were even a few crumbs of human remains. Ignoring all of this, Sue slowly closed in on the room closest to him. By the light, you could vaguely see the 710's door sign. After waiting a few minutes to make sure the 701 creepy wouldn't come out for a while, Sue put away his twin guns and pulled a piece of wire out of his pocket and walked towards 710. There was a snap of the tower. 710 was pried open. Then, quietly, he felt his way into the room. What's this for? I know. Fire must be trying to find a room to hide in. True to form. Fire won't be restricted by hotel rules on the 7th floor. Just dodge the 48 hours. The audience thought that Sue was trying to hide in this room for 48 hours. But what followed was unexpected to all. Upon entering the room, Sue went straight to the TV. Sell broken TV set *1. Get eerie coins *50. Sell barely working refrigerator *1. Get eerie coins *270. 5 short minutes. Room 710 was empty and the live feed blew up. No buddy, letting you run for your life. You came to steal from your family? Holy, in Creepy's lair, tearing Creepy's house apart. Could this be Fire's strategy? Sue finished demolishing the 710 without stopping. 709. 708. It wasn't until 701 that Sue stopped. There were 10 rooms on the 7th floor and 9 were sold out. Room 701 is nothing like the previous 9 rooms. You can tell by the door to the room alone. Those 9 rooms had little broken doors, while 701 had brand new coated doors. This resulted in Sue having no use for his little wire. Brother, we've emptied 9 rooms almost. Those 9 rooms weren't spooky. This last one definitely is. Yeah, let's just be honest and go hide in the other room. Something doesn't feel right about this room. It's really not normal to show up here in a normal room. Chapter 7-7. Flesh and Blood C4's strong breakthroughs. As a good hotel employee, you should enter the 701 to check on customers. A string of scarlet text surfaced. Sue raised an eyebrow. I didn't realize it would trigger the bonus quest. There is a very small chance that the player will trigger a bonus quest during the spooky replica. The difficulty of the mission is high, but the rewards for completing the mission alone will be beyond imagination. Sue finished searching the 9 rooms and was going to stay up. At the moment, he dismissed the idea. Reward quests can come and go, and since you've come across them, there's no reason to miss them. Not to mention, it's an SS copy. The rewards gained are even more unimaginable. My chow, what kind of ING luck is this, to have triggered the bonus quest? God bless my huaxia. This is Fire's stabilization. I wonder what will be rewarded in the SS rank reward quest. Did you guys ever think that this bonus quest would invoke Creepy? Holy, does that mean it's a trap? It's really possible. Fire mustn't be fooled. Just to be sure, Sue spent 500 creepy coins to unlock the grenade. Flesh and Blood grenade can deal high damage to S-rank creeps within 3 meters. Ding dong. Sue went to stand in front of the door with a smile on his face. Room service, sir. After a few moments, there was no response. Ding dong. Sir, customer service. Still no response. After a dozen times in a row, Sue became more and more annoyed. Open the door. Clunk. Sue took the sandhawk and began to smash the door. The audience looked dumbfounded at the scene. That's a little too aggressive. If it wasn't inside a creepy copy, this would properly be an armed tough guy trying to break into a house. The spectators did not see the difference in the pistol in Sue's hand under the dim light. It was a full 10 minutes of smashing. Room 701 remained untouched. There is no need to endure anymore. Sue took a few steps back, a sprint and a kick to the door of the room. Bang! The door to the room didn't budge. Instead, the shock made Sue's feet hurt. You're a ING pussy. Enraged, Sue pulled out a gun and hit the door of the room. But I can't imagine that the door to the room is stronger than expected. Flesh and Blood bullets capable of inflicting damage to S-class shenanigans. Just 2 dents in the door of the room. No pistols, and grenades. Ping! A muffled sound. The door to the room was still solid, except for being stained with blood. Sue was thoroughly aroused by these. How can an arms tycoon be stopped by a broken door? Whole handful of AK out and give it a dry rot. Sue immediately clicked on the weapon arsenal. Flesh and Blood AK. Unlocked 4*100 creepy coins. Upon seeing the price, he silently pulled it to the bottom. Scraped all 9 room floors to make less than 800 bizarre coins. Let's not even talk about buying an AK. It's not enough to unlock it. It's really hard to beat a penny. Looks like we need to think of a way to expand our arms business in the weird world quickly. Just be able to open up the sales. At that time, there will be no need to worry about running out of money. After picking and choosing for 10 minutes, Sue chose Flesh and Blood C4. Flesh and Blood C4. Unlocked 4*500 creepy coins. Flesh and Blood C4 4*100 creepy coins. Unlock C4 and buy 2 more. Unlock it, buy it, all in one go. Sue took out the C4, stuck it to the door and turned to run. What did Fire fix to the door? Looks like a red C4. No way. Pistols, grenades, C4, why are you carrying so many weapons? Our brother's an arms tycoon. There's nothing wrong with a C4 on him. That looks like a pile of meat, not C4. I just took a screenshot and that is indeed a piece of meat. I think Fire is planning to use the meat to draw Creepy out. The audience was roughly divided into 2 groups and began to argue vigorously. One part thinks it's C4 on the door. The other part thinks the door is Flesh and Blood. Both sides are on the same page. And they don't give a damn about each other. Picture. Sue pulled a small remote control out of his pocket and drew out the antenna. Immediately afterward, his mouth opened wide and he covered his ears. Boom. There was a loud bang. The entire old castle shook several times. Even the customers and employees were in an uproar. The tremor was most pronounced on the 6th floor, where countless S-ranked shenanigans hid in their rooms and shivered. The huge energy fluctuations that erupted from the 7th floor caused them to feel palpitations. The ordinary security guards on the 6th floor were so scared that they hugged each other in 2s and 3s. What happened? I don't know. It seems to be coming from the upper levels. It's so freaking spooky. It can't be the monster up there that's freaking out. They had never been to the 7th floor, but knew that the 7th floor had an existence they could not afford to mess with. Headless Creepy was the first to guard the Iron Gate and contacted the owner. The Iron Gate was equipped with a powerful prohibition, capable of resisting SS rank or even SS rank shenanigans. Thriller Games Task Force. At the first opportunity, the live stream was cut off, and it raised the level of Sue's secrecy to SS. What's going on? Why is the live feed closed? Fire, what's going on? With nowhere else to go, the Dragon viewers flooded into other live streams that didn't have closed access. Little Ghost Live. Inside the screen, the 4th floor hallway was full of panicked weirdness. Grizzly Ichiro hid in the trash can and kept praying. Fear of being discovered by these shenanigans. Creepy temperament is inherently erratic, and this situation goes out. 80% will be eaten. Story alive. Inside the screen, the old castle smokes. This player has yet to feel the hotel. Obviously, dead. The next moment, he saw countless Bazaar rushing out of the hotel. Just as he tried to turn to escape, he was bizarrely torn to pieces. Ding! Story a player, Mario eliminated. 7 layers. Sue as the originator. Not the least bit aware of what the detonation of C4 has caused. Not bad, not bad. Looking at the 701's big ragged hole, Sue nodded in satisfaction. Room service. After yelling, he walked into the 701 with his gun out. 701. Standard presidential suite. Living room kitchen with everything. All kinds of furniture. Everything. Especially on the living room wall and the oversized 100-inch 4K UHD TV. Unfortunately, there was just some debris that blew into the room and ruined the beauty of the room. Sue sighed. Man, you say how nice it is when you open the door early. Okay, I'm in here. Why don't you come out? Not coming out yet, are you? When I catch you, you'll be finished. After carefully searching the entire room, Sue went numb. Not to mention the shenanigans. There's not even a hair in this. It's not going out. Numb. Completely numb. Sue went limp on the soft distant couch, unable to return to his senses for a long time. Forget it. You'll get some rest. After all, it's going to be here long enough for 48 hours. There's no fear that this guy won't come back. That guy really isn't coming back. When you leave, just sell all the furniture. Brand new furniture is definitely worth more than broken pieces. After thinking about it, Sue turned on the TV. A mosaic of snowflakes mounted on the screen. Obviously no signal. Come to think of it, it's a creepy copy. How could there be information? Next moment. Prickly prickly. An electric current sounded. Chapter 8:8. Open a small order and trade successfully. The screen kept flashing. Other appliances are similarly affected by this current. It keeps opening and closing and cycling back and forth. At this point, the headlights in the living room exploded. The TV screen went out precipitously. Sue rolled over and got up from the couch, happily watching the scene. When the TV screen lit up again, a dry well appears in the TV screen. Does it mean Sadako is coming? As a horror movie veteran, the dry well, Sue was unconsciously reminded of Sadako, but the facts didn't go the way he expected. The dry well appeared for a full few minutes. Belatedly, Sadako, with her long hair, climbed out of the well. Sue got a little tired of waiting and came over to the TV. Gently touch the screen with your hand. The screen rippled like water. Next moment, morning music came from all sides, and this was interspersed with the sound of the girls sobbing. What is even more frightening is this. The dry well was like boiling, gurgling blood outward. Immediately afterward a small, ghastly white hand rested on the edge of the well. A female trickster, dressed in red robes and a phoenix crown, dressed as a bride, slowly climbed out of the well. Looking at the bride's stunningly beautiful face, Sue was dumbfounded. Creepy isn't out of the question if it looks like this. The bride shed a light tear and whispered, Sue Lang, I've waited so hard for you. Not much longer. The bride walked over to Sue, half of her body off the TV. It made the already spooky image seem even more eerie. Suro, you've finally come to me. The bride hooked her finger at Sue. Shasta. Sue's gaze was lax, as if he had lost his mind. Little by little, with the bride tugging at her, she moves toward the screen. Suro, I'll take you home. About to step into the TV, Sue stopped. A sharp tug on the bride's small, cold hand. Come out you. I don't know what position to use in the well. Bride? Hey, how could you run into me? But that's not all. The next moment, Sue clung to his bride and ripped her hard from the TV screen. The female trickster dropped to the floor, unable to return to her senses for a long time. In his 10 years of life, Guile had never been treated like this by anyone. Never by Guile to be exact. This human not only ripped it hard out of the TV set, he also pinched it hard twice during the tug. It's kinda soft. Sue took a closer look at the female Guile. The raging coconut, the slim waist, the pale skin, plus the stunning face. It can be described as the perfect carrier. How about taking it as your personal secretary? Just as Sue was thinking about it, a string of scarlet text appeared in front of his eyes. Please check the client's situation. The female Guile panicked a bit after noticing the constant obbling eyes. This guy shouldn't have any ideas. Hello, ma'am. I'm a hotel bellhop. You don't seem to be doing too well in this condition. So please let me give you a physical examination. The female trickster was suddenly angry in her heart and flatly refused. What a body check. The look in this guy's eyes was clearly gluttonous for its body. It came to this hotel to escape an SS-ranked creepy. How can you stoop to the level of a human if you can't even be weird? It grimaced as it recalled this. With a hiss, he lunged at Sue. Sue's face sank. Ma'am, are you not cooperating? So what if I don't cooperate? Sue grabbed the female Guile's head and slammed it hard against the wall. A few moments later, the female trickster, with her hair loose and legs clutched, curled up on the couch, sniffling in aggravation. This human is really too much. First came the house where it lived and blew out a wall. She also tricked her out of the well and beat her up. The most damnable thing was that the human even touched it all over in the name of checking its body. What are you doing so far away from me? The female Guile curled up and shook her head with a horrified look on her face. Come here, there's something I need to ask you. No, don't. Sue had a straight face. The body check was a hotel request, and I really don't personally have anything against you. Really? The female trickster was a bit disbelieving. Really? Something to ask you. The female trickster carefully moved her body and slowly approached Sue. What is it? Are there any other shenanigans on the 7th floor besides you? This was a question in Sue's mind. According to hotel rumors, the 7th floor customers are extremely scary, except for the boss. None of them, human or creepy, made it out alive. The female Guile in front of me, who was crying from 2 punches from her own bonbon, clearly wasn't. The female trickster shook her head. It usually hides in the press and doesn't dare to go out. So much so that it wasn't really known if there were any other guests on this floor. I don't know. You eat people? The female Guile blushed. No food. Why? The female trickster stammered and whispered. I wouldn't dare. Don't dare? Sue was stunned at first, then laughed out loud. The reason the S-class creepy doesn't eat people turns out to be that he doesn't dare. But come to think of it, Sue didn't even use his gun, and 2 punches made it cry. It really doesn't look like the guts to eat someone. Then why did you try to trick me into going to the well? The female trickster rushed to explain. I was just trying to scare you. Didn't mean to hurt you. Do you have any idea what a nasty effect your behavior will have? It's a good thing it's me. If it were any other service industry, wouldn't you be scared to death? These words gave the female Guile a whole lot of speechlessness. If the wall hadn't blown up, it wouldn't have come out at all. Secondly, it was really bored staying in the well. That's why I wanted to tease Sue. Okay, not with you. Sue pointed at the TV and inquired. Where is what? The female Guile picked at her fingers and responded in a small voice. That's my domain. Usually I stay in the well. Did you get shocked in the well? The female trickster shook her head no. Sue cupped his chin. In the well you will only hear movement and will not be harmed. Soon, a plan surfaced in his mind. There must have been other customers on the 7th floor, as evidenced by the wreckage in the hallway. The guy comes back, sees the room scraped clean, and 80% of the time he won't stop. Considering this, Sue didn't hesitate any longer. Pulling out 2 flesh and blood grenades, he walked towards the broken wall. After removing the safety, the mine was hooked to the wall with a thin wire. Some shenanigans come in and 2 flesh and blood grenades detonate. Female Guile looked curiously at the flesh and blood grenade and inquired cautiously, "What's that? It looks like it could be fun." Sue's mind whirled and he turned to look at the female Guile. "Want to play?" "No." The female Guile nodded decisively. "Get the money for it." "How much?" Sue quietly watched the female Guile's expression. 10,000 apiece. The female Guile's eyes instantly lit up. "It's so cheap. I'll take it all." Soundbite? Cheap? Chapter 99. Won $10,000. A rich bitch. Do people talk? 10,000 apiece is too cheap? Sue was speechless. He hadn't made that much after all his hard work scouring 9 rooms. I really didn't realize that this female trickster in front of me was still a rich woman. How about tying it up? This thought flashed through Sue's head. No. I'm a businessman. I have to behave like a businessman. Pay up. Female Creepy transferred $200 creepy to Sue. It was about to reach for the 2 grenades hanging on the wall that had their safeties yanked. Woohoo! What are you doing? Sue reacted extremely quickly, yanking the female Guile and subconsciously bonking her twice. No surprises. The female trickster was beaten and cried again. Sue pulled 2 more grenades out of his pocket. "Here." Instead of reaching for it, the female Guile begged pitifully, "Can you not hit me?" It couldn't understand why it hurt so much to hit the knee of a human who looked so weak. Sue scratched his head, a trace of embarrassment flashing across his face. "You are my esteemed client. How could I possibly hit you there? I was just there to keep you safe. If this mine blows, we're both doomed." At such a close distance, the female Guile might not be fine, but Su Xiaoyan, AB ranked minion, formulated that he couldn't carry it. "Okay, you go back first. I'll look for later." The female trickster didn't even take her grenade and fled, flying into the TV. Squeak! The screen went out with it. Su froze for a moment and shook his head with a smile. "It seems that the client has misunderstood himself, so I'll have to explain it to him later. For the moment, though, it was better to set up the trap first." Su took out a blood and flesh C4 and planted it in the corner. Just to be sure, he redeemed another one and placed it on the other side. 2 bloody C4s. At close range, not to mention S-rank shenanigans, even SS-rank shenanigans would have to be half crippled by the blast. After doing this, Su came to the TV, opened the door. No reaction. Delivering grenades. No reaction. "If you don't open the door, I'm going to blow you up." Still no response. "Fine. I'll count to 3. If you don't open the door in 3 counts, I'll you up when I get inside. 3, 2. There was a stabbing burst of electricity. The TV screen lit up again, and after the screen flickered a few times, the dead well reappeared. Without hesitation, Su drilled into the TV and headed straight for the dry well. "Are you down there?" After a few moments, the female trickster returned reluctantly. In. Su looked into the mouth of the well, which was pitch black. "Wuxia, you won't fall to your death if it's this deep." He doesn't fly like a female trickster. "Beauty, you haven't got your thunderbolt yet." The female Guile, who was nestled at the bottom of the well sulking, then reluctantly flew up and, catching the jumping Su. Ouch. Woohoo. That was awesome. It feels like bungee jumping without a leash. Su took a closer look at everything around him. As he had expected in his heart, there really was something else under the well. It's a lot shabbier than the top. Not a small stone house, placed with a crib and a small table. A small oil lamp emitting a dim light illuminated the small stone house. The table was empty except for 2 books. "This is where you live?" The female trickster was a bit speechless. There seems to be something wrong with this guy. It's such a big place. Where else could it live if not here? "Yo, you still read The Red Chamber? Ha, and Romeo and Juliet." Su snickered as he glanced at the book sitting on the table. The female trickster came quickly and snatched the book away. "Give it back. I only have these 2 books left. I can't believe S-rank shenanigans can be mixed up like this. Aren't they just 2 crappy books?" The female trickster held back her tears and whispered, "And only these 2 books to keep me company. Oh, that's really bad. Female spooks? No buddy, don't you have any sympathy?" After stuffing the 2 grenades into the female Guile, Su laid himself down on the bed. The female trickster seemed too bored to initiate conversation. "What's your name?" "Soothsayers. Are you the new waitress?" "Aha. Oh, then you should be careful. I heard that a lot of human waitresses have been eaten in this hotel." Okay. From these few sentences alone, Su Yuyao could tell that this female trickster was bored enough to stay here. "So why do you stay here? Aren't you bored?" The female trickster seems to have found someone to talk to and starts pouring out her woes. Through conversation, Su learned the beginning and the end. Turns out it was out there being targeted by some other powerful creepy and pressed into service. Luckily, it had more substantial pockets, so it spent a huge amount of money to hide out at the Spectre Hotel. "The creepy one that's staring at you. What strength? Peak SS rank. It seems like it's about to be promoted to Guile King. SS. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. SS rank peak, about to be promoted to Guile King. It's really scary. Aren't you afraid it will come for you? The female trickster sighed. No fear for now. Sue was a little curious. What exactly is the strength of this hotel? Surprisingly, he didn't even dare to mess with SS-ranked shenanigans. After the female Guile explained, Su Jiwei came to know. This ancient fortress itself is an extremely powerful SS-grade spooky prop with accompanying ghosts. The ability to suppress all the weird rules of killing. It was later converted into a hotel when the owner got it. Due to the special nature of the hotel, the development is extremely rapid. Just like a big power, many forces negotiate and come here. Hearing this, Su frowned. In that case, the owner has definitely built up a wide network of connections over the years. Getting on the line with the owner will solve the weapons sales problem. At this point, two muffled thumps came from outside. Apparently, some trick triggered a grenade trap. Su immediately pulled out the remote control from his pocket and drew out the antenna. Boom! There was a loud bang. This movement far exceeds the last one. Even the dry well shook. The female trickster was so scared that she jumped into Suya's arms. After the aftermath of the explosion cleared, the female Guile warily inquired, "What was that just now?" Su said as he got up, "There's unlucky people coming to the door, and can you get off me? I'm scared." The female trickster hangs on to Su Xiaohua and dies. Come on, send me up. The moment. 701 inside. A mess. Almost everything was destroyed by the explosion. A black robe floated on the air of the hallway outside. Looking at the tattered state of that black robe, it was obvious that it was the unlucky one that had been blown up. Not only that, a bizarre aura was constantly festering outward within the black robe. Obviously 2 C4s had just been fired and it had taken quite a bit of damage. Damn. Who the hell? The shopkeeper kept twisting and hissing. In all his life, Trickster had never suffered such a big loss. When it learned of the situation, it rushed back at the first opportunity, fearing that there would be problems with its valued guest. Never thought about it. I can't believe I got blown up like this. It went into a rage at the thought. The original calm black mist within the black robe had now turned into a scarlet red color filled with a berserk aura. Chapter 1010. Dark Hotel. Mysterious Guests. A moment. The owner then came to the 701 door, just in time to see Su get into the elevator. At the same time it noticed the female Guile hanging on Su. At that moment, a familiar dripping sound brought the furious one to its senses instantly. ***. Boom. There was a loud bang. Inside the dry well, Su took a big breath. He didn't think it would take 2 C4s to blow a bit of bloody skin off the creepy one out there. Especially the moment he was locked by the creepy one. His spirit nearly collapsed. The female Guile, who was hanging on to Su Zhou, muttered in a low voice. That just seemed to be the store owner. ***, why didn't you say so? And you didn't ask. Now that's a whole lot of messing around. Who would have thought it would be the store owner who came back? What now? I was going to talk business with the store owner, but now I'm talking chicken. Now it's a thank you if you don't get out without getting killed by your boss. Not to mention copies of these abnormal shenanigans, even for normal people. Anyone who comes up here and gets fed 3 thunders is going to be pissed. Just when Su didn't know what to do, a middle-aged male voice came from outside. Su, right. Release Ms. Lin. I can let you off the hook. Miss Lin? Su asked. Looking down. Is that you? Lin. She was still holding Su Shayan in a death grip. Well, my name is Lindsay. After briefly considering the situation for 2 minutes, Su decided to go out and meet his boss. If the boss really wanted to him, he would have rushed in a long time ago. There are no more than 2 reasons why the owner doesn't come in. Firstly, I'm worried that Suya will be unfavorable to Linshi. Secondly, the power of C4 is contraindicated. Boss, I'm out. Su yelled and let Linshi bring himself out of the dry well. 701 inside. The atmosphere was a little weird. Su looked at the tattered black robe floating in the doorway of 701. In the black robes was a misty fog that was clearly not unusual and bizarre. Instead, it was the black shadow that took the lead, drifting out a faint sentence. Ms. Lin, your behavior like this seems a bit less than decent. A flash of redness unexpectedly surfaced on Lin Shi's miserable face. Just as he tried to get down, he felt a pair of large hands hold him tight. Boss, I feel like this is just fine. In this situation now, Su couldn't let Lin Shi leave himself. With Lindsay on top of him, the boss will throw in the towel. Once Lin Shi left, hell knows if the boss would take the opportunity to screw him over. 2 touches of scarlet lit up where the black robe's head was. Su, this is my place. There's no need to be so nervous. Su understood what the boss meant. Boss, sorry about just now. I am compelled to do so for the safety of your guests. This little thing is just compensation. As he spoke, He took out 2 pieces of C4 and threw them to the boss. A hint of black mist spilled out of the black robe, transforming into an arm and catching C4. The boss couldn't help but look at the writhing flesh and blood on the C4. It had seen weapons from the human world, but those were nothing more than toys to Creepy. But this human pulled out a weapon that was able to do damage to Creepy. This is the first time this has happened. It realized that this would probably be a business opportunity. Maybe we should go somewhere else and talk. Sure, no problem. Inside the parlor, Belek, Yelichirov are preparing the food. Earlier, there was an unusual movement in the hotel. The two dodged a bullet. As for Gripper Ichiro, he wasn't so lucky, dodging the first time, not the second. It was eventually ripped to shreds by Creepy. There are no rules about killing, but these powerful shenanigans in the hotel are still deadly to them. After the contestants were eliminated one by one, Woolly Bear and Lighthouse opened up live access one by one. For the country, this world is a great opportunity to show its strength. A large number of Dragon Country viewers flooded into the live broadcast room. How the hell is fire doing now? I've heard that the 7th floor monsters went berserk, causing the entire hotel to be in an alien chaos. Grass above Y blocked the live broadcast. Even if it is dead, let us die a clear, okay? The Hairy Bear and Lighthouse contestants have all shown up. Where did our fire brother go? I think that coward is hiding. I have to say that the dragon player was really lucky, hiding on the 7th floor for so long. It hasn't been eliminated until now. Mr. Belek is injured. That player from the Dragon Kingdom definitely won't be able to struggle for long. Most viewers guessed that Sue wouldn't last long. Then as the door to the parlor opened, Sin shouted with a big grin on her face, "Welcome to your guests." The 2 people in the room heard the shouts and immediately stood up straight. When faced with such a valued guest, you must be on top of your game. Why aren't you standing at the front desk? Shu Sin froze for a moment and looked at the visitor. Hey, Su Hua, what took you so long to come? It's almost packed inside. It thought that Su was here to serve a valued guest and immediately pulled him back. Come on, hurry up and get changed with me. There will be a VIP guest here later. Not wearing overalls is a sure way to get chastised. Su glanced at the parlor. I didn't realize the store owner took him seriously. The boss asked me to come and talk about things. Shu Sin? Associating it with the situation that happened in the hotel, it couldn't help but have a horrifying thought in its mind. This strange movement on the 7th floor. It couldn't be its good friend who made the whole thing, right? Su went straight to the table, picked up the food and just started to show off. Fark, are you crazy? Do you want to get us killed? Belek looked at Su with a horrified face. It had taken him ages to prepare the food. Su ignored Belek and picked up a chicken leg and handed it to Yelichirov. Torov, hungry. Yelichirov shook his head decisively. Hunger returns to hunger. But the food was not for him. The waiter, to touch. You can't bury your life in vain for the sake of a passing fancy. Live stream. The audience looked dumbfounded. Everyone didn't expect that the first thing Su showed up was to open Dazzle. Bastard, do you realize you're going to get us killed if you do this? In a fit of rage, Belek rushed at Su, trying to stop the pile of food on Ho-Ho's table. Next moment, he flung himself to his knees. Brother, I was wrong. Facing Su's blackened muzzle, Belek decisively chose to concede. He unleashed his deduction ability the moment Su pulled out his gun. The methods of dealing with Su Xiaohua were deduced, but the results were all dead with no doubt exceptions. In other words, just do it and he'll be the one to die. Boss, you're here. Outside came the sound of Shu Sin shouting. Belek and Yelichirov hurried to the side and stood up straight. When the boss appeared on the air, everyone felt a deep pressure. Damn, this asshole is going to get all the players killed. Stop eating. Come on, shenanigans. But the boss's next sentence stunned everyone. Su, eat slowly. There's no rush. It had just taken the opportunity to experiment with the power of C4 while preparing for the feast. The results were excellent and arguably far exceeded its expectations. Chapter 11:11. Identity Change. VIP Clients. Better get down to business. Su smiled and looked at the owner. At the moment the boss changed into a brand new black robe. If you can get the business done, you can have as much of this food as you want. How many? As much as you want as long as the price is right. The black robe shook, clearly stunned. It originally thought that Su didn't have much stock in his hands. I didn't expect to get such an answer. What's this about? I don't know. It looks like they're negotiating some kind of deal. Asterisk. This is ing for a dirtbag like me to watch? My god. What the hell is going on here? The other 2 players saw the scene and their minds fell apart. The same contestant who was picked by Thriller Games. Why does he get to go to the table and eat with his boss? The main thing is that Su seems to have made an unknown deal with his boss. The owner was silent for a moment. Give me a moment. I need to judge the exact value of this thing. Su nodded. Now that the store owner had the will, he was sure to negotiate the proposal. Yes, but I'd like it to be quick. Boss, you know my time is extremely valuable. Of course, I will give away 10 samples so that you can better test the value of the product, boss. At this point, a string of scarlet lettering surfaced. The owner of the dark hotel has been favored, and has been promoted to the status of a guest of the hotel. With this status, you'll have the run of the Shadow Hotel. Immediately after the game prompt flashes up. Ding! Player's identity has been changed. When Sue saw this prompt, he immediately checked the panel. Player, Sue. Status, Hotel VIP customer. Physical fitness, 35. Spirit, 70. Capability, not yet available. Assets, 13. 450 bizarre coins. Overall rating, B+. Sue looked at the panel and froze. The change of identity was expected of him. But what's with the mental power? How did it go up so much? Is it because of staying with these creeps? Sue, you see that sample? Soul tugged on a chicken leg and got up. Come on, boss. I'll take you to pick up the goods. By the way, Torov, help me pack the leftovers from the hotel. Yelatorov glanced at Sue with a grateful face. Okay, Mr. Sue, the hotel has strict rules, including a strict ban on packing leftovers. In case of violation, severe penalties will be imposed. Except for Sue. The other players could be said to have dripped since they entered the bizarre copy. After all, Yelatorov was a former business partner, and there was no way Sue could watch him starve to death. Burak looked at Yelatorov, who was packing up his leftovers, and exuded a hint of envy. Can't wait to replace him now, having not eaten for a long time, coupled with a constant state of mental strain. Bringing it to the brink of physical and mental collapse. If the store owner hadn't left yet, Bellick would have gone to steal the food. Why should the big hairy man be allowed to pack up the leftovers and not our Mr. Bellick? Mr. Sue is really our good companion, and I wish him a safe passage through this copy. Still, Fire is great. Look at that Lighthouse Nation contestant's mouth watering. I'm really curious as to what Fire has done to become an honored guest of the hotel. Fire wouldn't be talking arms business with Creepy, would he? No way. Aren't weapons useless against Creepy? Before that, there were also mercenaries who teleported into the copy with their weapons. Some countries have organized armies to fight against it, including when the weirdness descended. Both light and heavy weapons and even missile weapons have been tried, but it all ended in failure. The weapons of the human world were useless against Creepy Press. Room 701. Sue quickly took out 10 C4S and handed them over to the shopkeeper. Sue, I've already explained to Shu Sin. You can just look for it directly to get your room card later. Okay, by the way, boss, can I sell some trinkets on the 4th floor later? The shopkeeper took a beating. Sue pulled out the flesh and blood sandhawk and handed it to the boss. The owner took a good look around and gave himself another shot. Established that the pistol was indeed a gadget compared to a C4 bomb. Okay, but you have to be more careful. Some of the clients aren't so nice to talk to. Good. After sending his boss away, Sue smiled and patted the TV. Lindsay, going out? The TV squeaked on. Immediately afterward, Lindsay's upper body burst out of the TV. I'd like to go out and play, but I don't dare. Sue laughed and held it out of the TV as soon as he could. What's there to be afraid of? Big deal. I'll cover you. Lindsay was a little unconvinced. Can you do it? Any idea what blew up this wall? Lindsay shook her head. It didn't know what it was, but it knew that what blew up the wall was powerful. I have 1 million of these, and I've got a deal with the boss. When this thing opens up for sales, I don't have the SS class in my sights for the district. Lindsay's eyes lit up. It says it can't fight, but it's not stupid. Where to play? Sujo looked at Lin Shi cheerfully. Lindsay, do you think I'm taking a big risk by protecting you? Lindsay nodded. So do you think I should be given a drop of protection money? Lindsay still nodded stupidly. So how much do you want? Not much, 100,000 a day. Lin Shi muttered as she transferred money. I always feel like you're ripping me off. However, the next moment it smiled and hugged Sue. But that's okay, I have plenty of money. Sue stayed for a moment, then smiled and hugged Lindsay. Come on, I'll take you downstairs. Going to play what? Go tease the other little creeps. Yeah. Lin Shi happily followed behind Sue Shoei's butt. It's been hiding in the well every day for a while now, and it's getting hairy. Soon, 1 man and 1 guile came to the 4th floor. This level is all VIP customers, ranging in strength from A to D. All of them happened to belong to the target group of Sue. He was just going to sell these guys on the flesh and blood sandhawk. Weapons that could injure S-rank shenanigans were bound to be on these guys' minds. Suyuki rang the doorbell. Hello, first, get out. Hello, sir, I'm here to get out. Sue was not discouraged. Door-to-door sales must be patient. Hello, sir. The door to the room creaked open, and out burrowed a Class A creep. The creepy was short in stature and looked like a rat. Calling you. Sue just put the gun against its head and the guy stopped screaming. Why don't you scream? This creepy senses far beyond the other creepy. It's able to detect that that weapon in the hands of the human in front of him was capable of accomplishing lethal damage to it. Big brother, what are you doing? Nothing, just asking if you're buying a weapon. As he was talking, Suitsun coerced Creepy into the room with a gun. Chapter 1212. Door-to-door service. Conscientious businessman. A few moments later, Sue was satisfied and walked out of the room. Do you have to be so happy about robbing 3,000? Lin, she couldn't help but spit. I thought Sue had taken it for some fun, but I didn't expect it to be robbing other tenants. What robbery? Obviously selling guns. Okay, and what's in your hand? Ugh ***. Forgot to give it. Sue turned around and went to ring the doorbell. Open the door. Open the door. You haven't been given this gun yet. Brother, I'm really broke. This is really treating yourself like a home invasion. What do businessmen care about most? Integrity. Once integrity is in question, who will do business with you in the future? This is the money you paid for the gun. Come out and take it away. Big brother, I don't want that gun. Just go. Sue was instantly exasperated. How can that be? He's still in the negotiation phase of his business with his boss. If the boss finds out about this, what does it think? I really sell guns. Ask the owner if you don't believe me. Mouse Creepy's heart went completely cold now. It had planned to wait for Sue to leave and get security to settle the matter. Never in a million years would I have thought that Sue was related to the boss. Big brother, that money is my oldest brother's filial honor. I really don't want the gun. Sue had no choice but to inquire one last time. That's what you said you didn't want, huh? It's not that I won't give it. It's me who doesn't want it. Not big brother who won't give it. You see, it's really that it doesn't want it. Not that I don't give it. Suing, who had picked up 3,000 for nothing, was particularly happy. Lin, she was speechless and spat in his heart. Come up here with a gun. Put it to someone's head and say they're selling something, who would believe it? The back is even the owner of the store. Even if others want it, they dare not take it. You don't look like a gun salesman to me, Sue asked as he rang the doorbell next to him. What do I look like? Like the gangster. You're misunderstanding me. But after half a dozen presses, the room didn't respond. Mr. Sue guessed that this room, probably, was unoccupied. In order to increase the efficiency of his work, he specially found Xiao Chen to get the room card to take a list. By the way, why don't you go to your room, get cleaned up and wait for me? Looking at the room card handed over by Sue, and the slightly ambiguous words, Lin Shi's little heart couldn't help but flutter up. No way. Ow. Okay then. But then the road to selling wasn't smooth. Called 10. 9 just do not open the door. The remaining 1 dead still do not want. Eventually, after taking a bullet, that AP Creepy honestly bought Sue's pistol. Why did you just hit it in the foot? Lin Shi didn't expect the flesh and blood pistol to be that powerful. One shot actually took out the foot of a PK rank creepy. It was like Sue was looking at a little cutie. Like looking at Lin Shi. Are you stupid? Hitting the head doesn't give it the whole thing? I'm trying to sell my goods door to door, not kill people to get them. Lin Shi thought about it carefully and felt that what Suing said seemed to make some sense. That being said, I always felt something was wrong. Don't be wrong. It's your turn to yell at the door. Susuma rang the doorbell and gave Lin Shi a wink. Ha! Lindsay was a bit overwhelmed. It has never done anything like this before. Seeing that Lin Shi didn't make a move, Su Xiaoyi slapped her on the butt. Lin Shi glared at Su Xiaoyi with a grudging face. Hello sir, I'm. Before the words were out of his mouth, the door to the room creaked open. Creepy was directly dumbfounded after seeing Lin Shi's stunningly beautiful face through the doorway. It had never seen such a beautiful female guile since its birth. Before it could go any further, a gun was pressed to its head. One man and one trickster working together. In less than half an hour, a large portion of the VIP customers on the 4th floor had been raided. Most of them are pay up and don't want the gun. A few asked for guns and got shot. Lindsay became acquainted with door knocking and room entry activity after door knocking activity. Ding dong. After Su Xiaoyu rang the doorbell, Lin Shi gloriously said, Sir, would you like a weapon? No need. Suzanne? Lindsay? What's going on? Unbelieving. Lin Shi rang the doorbell again. Sir, why don't you open the door and take a look? The goods on my side are really inexpensive. Saying no means no. The original middle-aged male voice suddenly turned into a mournful female voice. Don't you understand human language? The movement scared Lin Shi so much that she immediately jumped into Su Xiaoyan's arms. Su was also startled. Is there a siren in here? But saying that reminded him of a horror movie Uncle Ing had made. There's a kind of misogynistic yin and yang corpse in there. Especially after thinking of the yin yang corpse using that blue extra long version of the quinquin as a weapon. Su lost the idea of selling weapons to this guy. Forget it. No more sales for this family. Mr. Su was about to head to the next house with Lindsay in his arms. there's a man inside. Sue stopped and asked, looking down. What man? Lindsay closed her eyes and took a closer look. The hotel staff, but it was hung on the wall. What a look, it's a bearded man. Gotta, Mr. Sue guessed who it was. It must be that unlucky bastard Torov. Sue gently patted Lindsay before putting him down. Good girl, cover your ears and hide in the back. Good. Lindsay honestly ducked to the side. Sue clicked on the arsenal and found the Flesh and Blood AK. Whether to spend 100 creepy coins to unlock Flesh and Blood AK. Unlock. Whether to spend 800 to buy Flesh and Blood AK. Yes. A few seconds later, Sue took out a handful of bloody AKs and began a frantic sweep at the door of the room. This room door rating would not have been 701 high. It quickly became fragmented under the ravages of the 726 Flesh and Blood bullets. Sue kicked in the door. The moment. Live stream. With all the spectators watching. Easily crushed Yelicharov's Yin-Yang Guile and was killed by random gunfire. Oh bugger. What a guy. No way. Weird worlds have weird weapons too? It should be the security guard coming down from upstairs. Torov is a lucky man. If the security guards come any later, he's going to be finished. When Sue walked into the room with the bloody AK, all the viewers exploded. Sue, you are truly our savior. Asterisk asterisk. What the hell is going on here? Why does that look like a fire unicorn in Fire's hand? This is too powerful. A barrage of bullets to a peak ranked creepy killed it. Holy, what the hell kind of weapon is that? Does that mean this is the kind of AK that was traded before? The crowd could see the unusual weapon in Sue's hand and commented on it. The heads of the thriller games in various countries were now completely fixated on Sue. With this weapon capable of inflicting damage on creepy, then the record of surviving the replica will be greatly increased. After releasing Yelitarov from the wall, Sue ripped the tape from his mouth. How are you? But Yelitarov did cry out in horror. Come on, Sue, I've notified the security brigade. Chapter 1313. Brother, is this really a thriller game? The hotel rules are extremely strict. Many shenanigans are willing to choose this hotel. Sue killed the hotel's VIP customer, which can be said to involve the hotel's bottom line. VIP clients are being shot at in hotels. Once word gets out, it would certainly have a serious impact on the hotel's reputation. Even if Sue was now a VIP customer of the hotel, he would not be exempted from chastisement. Live stream. The Dragon Country audience's hearts went cold when they heard the news. The news doesn't get out, and as long as Sue drags himself around the room until the copy is over, it will be able to circumvent this problem perfectly. Oh, it's just a spooky death. It's a small thing. Sue faintly smiled, not taking this question to heart in the slightest. This reaction confused the entire live stream audience wholeheartedly. No, Fire, do you have any idea what's going on right now? Brother, even if you're the boss's honored guest, and you killed someone's VIP customer, people don't deal with people. They can't even save face. What a shame. It looks like the Dragon Kingdom is coming to an end. Yelicharov clenched his teeth at this and said to Sue, Sue, give me the gun. Since entering the weird copy, Sue had given him too much help. Without Sue this time, he would definitely die a horrible death at the hands of creepy. Even hotel security wouldn't offend a VIP customer for a human like him. To put it nicely, he's a hotel employee. To put it bluntly, he might not even be hotel fodder. I didn't see any security guards come out to talk when Grizzly Ichiro burped his ass off. At best, on the mouth. Condemn the customer. Okay, don't worry about me. Sue looked at the room full of props and couldn't help but tsk. I can't imagine that shenanigans can be played this fancy, especially the creepy to death. Spiked wolfsbane clutched tightly in his hand. Torov, you're in luck. If I hadn't come, this stuff is probably used on you. Yelitarov winced as he looked at the wolfsbane on the ground. Live stream. The Dragon Nation audience is going crazy. No, man, is this the time to be concerned about that? At this point, a few security guards came sparsely from over the corridor. I don't know. Is the waitress still alive? Who knows that? By and large it should be played to death. A few of the guards winced at the thought. This customer had bought human pets before as well as a couple of shenanigans, but they all ended up being played to death. That sick play makes them all giddy with fear. Not much longer. They came to the door of the room. Upon seeing the smashed door of the room, he first stared, then laughed. This client is playing a little hard to get this time. The door is broken. Brothers, make sure it bleeds well this time. Yeah, it just so happens that the brothers haven't had any meat for days, and they're holding back. But when a few guys saw the scene inside the house, they were completely confused. Inside the house, a tricky two, and their client, the creepy, collapsing to the ground. A weird gas continued to bubble out of his hole-filled torso. Obviously, dead as a doornail. Asterisk what the? The level of shock of a few shenanigans was no less than that of the audience in the live broadcast. The leader, creepy, pointed at Su Xiaoyu and stumbled. You did what? Su shrugged. This guy was attempting to endanger your hotel staff, and I saw fit to give it a shot. Avalanche. A few tricky minds have also collapsed. This client had an accident during a few trick inspections. They're sure to be severely chastised by the hotel, and if they can't find a scapegoat, then they will be thrown to the 7th floor to feed the monsters. Su cheerfully pointed to the cool, spooky, didn't care in the slightest about those few weird murderous gazes. Come on, don't froth, clean this guy up. It still looks weird and disgusting. When the several shenanigans sniffed, they immediately showed a ferocious face, their shenanigans raging, and they pounced on Su like crazy. *********************************************** ing asshole, do you realize what you've done? But the next moment, they come to a hard stop. It was only because Su took out the room card exclusive to VIP customers. After seeing the room card, a few creeps went numb. Client private fights, resulting in injuries and deaths. This now amounts to a death sentence for a few shenanigans. With no way to deal with Su, they turned their attention to Yelitarov. Just because they're afraid to take on customers doesn't mean they're afraid to take on waiters. It is clear that they intend to be pushing out Yelitarov as a scapegoat. The leader, Creepy, was the first to react, pointing at Yelitarov and yelling, "It's you! It must be you! It must be you who killed your guest! Brothers, catch him!" It was like a burden had been lifted from Yelitarov's mind. "Su, I don't owe you." There was a bang of a gun. "No, don't you guys understand human language? I said I killed this guy." The chaos was instantly calmed. Yelitarov? Live viewers? They were just feeling sorry for Yelitarov. But they didn't realize that the next moment Su stood up again. The leader, Creepy, gritted his teeth and threatened, "Sir, it's none of your business, and you have no right to interfere in the internal affairs of our hotel. You know, if the boss handles it, you won't get away with it. Not only will we be chastised, but you will be sent to the 7th floor as well. You also know that horrible place on the 7th floor. Even we security guards don't dare to venture into it." After saying this, it waved its hand, commanding his men bizarrely. He pounced on Yelitarov again. Bump! Another shot rang out. Once again, Su stopped a few shenanigans. "Oh, you mean I don't have enough access? You, a VIP customer, are not qualified to interfere with our decisions." The patience in the lead guy's mind was about to be worn out. It even wanted to strike out and finish off this human who kept interfering with them. "Oh, then I'll change the shenanigans for you to talk about. Lindsay, come in." "Ha, you called out to me?" Lindsay popped her head out of the house. "Well, get over here." Oh, only then did Lindsay unwillingly fly into the house and cats behind Su Xiaoyu. A few tricksters in the room. Yelitarov, including the viewers of the live stream. After seeing Lindsay's face, they were all stunned. "My god, is this a fairy? No, where did fire find a fairy? Asterisk. Why didn't you pick me for this copy? Oh, I'd die if I could get a close-up glimpse." After a few moments, it took the lead shenanigans to come back to God. The fearful dread of death swept over it once again, and it roared at Su. "Don't talk about it, even if it's an upper-tier premium VIP client. Neither can interfere with the internal affairs of our hotel." "Ugh, too bad it's not a premium VIP customer. If not, then get out." Several shenanigans struck at the same time, surging towards Yelitarov as well as Su. Chapter 14. Copy Vacation with Beauty and Guile. Boo! A muffled sound. The live feed went black. Asterisk, what's going on? Why is the screen blacked out? It looks like a fight. It's over. They couldn't deny that the weapon in Su's hands was extremely powerful. The PK-ranked Creepy from before was killed through the door by Su's random shots. But this time, Su faced 4 PK-grade creeps. At close range, there's no way to sneak up on them. It took a full couple minutes before the broadcast resumed. Only the room was a mess. Next moment, Su appeared on the live feed. "Torov, how are you?" Yelitarov struggled a few times, feeling a sharp pain all over his body. He gritted his teeth and inquired to Su Zhou. "Su, what just happened to me?" Su's old face blushed. The situation had just become so urgent that he threw 2 grenades. With Lin Shi's protection, Su Yuyo was grossly unprotected. But Yelitarov was not so lucky. At close range, he was directly knocked out by the aftermath of the explosion. It's a good thing 2 unlucky people took the first wave of damage, or they wouldn't have passed out. So simple. With the help of Su, Yelitarov struggled to get to his feet. The audience was dumbfounded when they saw what was going on in the room. There were 2 spooky motionless ones collapsed within sight, one of which was the lead security guard. When Yelitarov saw it, he was so frightened that his whole body gave a jolt and nearly fell to the ground again. Su, what the hell happened?" Su shrugged. "I don't build them. I turn my head and they hang." Seeing that Su was unwilling to say more, Yelitarov did not pursue the matter. "Thanks a lot. You're welcome, just transfer me 100,000 or 80,000 bazaar coins when you have time. The audience couldn't help but spit on Sue's look. Fire, do you believe yourself when you say that? Ghost believe you. You bad old man, bad class. Did that fairy sister just make a move? I have a feeling it should be. I just observed no gunshot wounds on the two that hung just out of the room. All the spectators held their breath nervously. As far as the eye could see, the entire corridor was densely filled with creepy. Leader, the house head creepy with the big rusty kitchen knife. Horrible, horrible as it is. This time it was actually led by the head of security himself. Finish spicy. It's all over now. Security chief, that's what rank. S rank peak weirdness. Ah, just a hair's breadth away from SS rank. With such a terrifying existence, not to mention AK, even the fire Chilin might not be useful. My friend is injured. Find a trick to take good care of him. The security chief flicked the chopper. A female creepy security guard stepped out of the crowd and offered to assist Yelatarov. Don't worry, Mr. Sue. ***, what did fire do? I must be dreaming. This is definitely not real. Impossible. Impossible. What is happening? The scene. Beyond the perception of all viewers. One couldn't believe that this was really happening in the spooky replica. But the next sentence made everyone's mind explode. Mr. Sue, Miss Lin is waiting for you in your room. Sue responded faintly. Got it. Please stay well in your room during this time, or I won't be able to explain to my boss. Okay, so you really can't come out? No. Oh, well then. Sue's reluctant performance exploded the minds of all the viewers. No dude, what's your reaction? You're in the same room with a fairy, and you're still not happy about it? But a comment in the pop-up made everyone break their defenses. The bike you don't want to ride, so someone else can stand up and pedal. Then with it, Yelatarov was taken away by the female trickster security. Sue disappeared from sight once again. Sue sighed all the way back to room 423. When he entered the room, upon seeing Lin Shi, who was wearing a bathrobe and a cape, the whole person looked dumbfounded. You took a shower? Lin Xin looked at Su Xiaoyi with a grudging face. It's not your fault the blood is splattered all over me. Can you give me a heads up next time you do it? So I can at least be prepared. No? Su sighed and sat down next to Lin Shi. What's wrong? Security won't let me out. How are we going to fight? Ow. No. How are we going to go buy weapons and equipment for the other shenanigans? Lindsay pouted. Why do you think about robbing people every day? What do you mean by robbing? Take it and not give the goods, that's called a gun. Not give the goods? But you don't deliver 9 times out of 10. Ha ha. Also, Su Xiaoyi laughed helplessly before resting his head on Lin Shi's lap. Start reviewing everything that just happened. It was a habit he had developed since his selling career. Whenever a business deal is made, or a great thing is done, when idle, think about how to do this better. Actually, he doesn't need to waste his breath with those security guards. Just directly move Lin Shi. It's that supreme level VIP customer status. The head of security personally led a team to the 6th floor upon learning the news. Learning what happened, he directly hacked to death the 2 remaining security guards who were involved in the action. In the end, Su wasted 2 grenades, also restricted from selling goods on the 4th floor at will. If we had just revealed our identities from the beginning, there wouldn't have been so much bull ********. Thinking of this, Su couldn't help but hug Lin Shi's thigh tightly. A rich woman's thighs are different. Not only white but also fragrant. Lindsay shivered slightly. Su, can you put on a disc for me? I don't know how. It was only then that Su let go of Lin Shi's thighs in a fond manner. Upon seeing the DVD underneath the TV, one can't help but be intrigued. A doubt arose in his mind as to how the creepy copy could have this. Is it possible that there are dumpers selling stuff in the creepy copies? Sohn didn't think deeply about this, but searched for the disc. I'm on my way. He froze for a moment when he saw the disc in the drawer. Clearly an H-disc. Which one are you looking at? The cover on Lindsay's disc blushed instantly. Ouch. What are you doing? Eventually, it took a lot of effort for Su to find an Uncle Ling horror movie compilation from the pile. The first one is Uncle Ying's classic movie, Uncle Zombie. With the movie starting to play, an eerie atmosphere began to fill the room. When the Imperial Zombie showed up, Lin Shi was so scared that she immediately jumped into Su Xiaoyu's arms, trembling continuously. Su couldn't help but laugh. I can't imagine being S-rated creepy and watching a zombie movie and being scared to this extent, especially when it came to the horrific images. It was a death grip. Fear of zombie shenanigans. That's a first. How can you a creep be afraid of zombies? I'm not afraid. Then what are you doing with your eyes closed? I'm not. I just have sore eyes. Having said that, Lin Shi did refuse to open her eyes. Chapter 15:15. Easily arrived. 10 million orders. One night. No sleep. Su yawned. The eye watched as Lindsay dug into the TV and returned to the dry well. He suspects that the television is only the medium, and that the dry well is where it stands. However, He didn't look deeper. Probing for client secrets is not a good habit. It was only after the TV screen went out that Sue couldn't help but spit out a sentence. It's so hard to make money and... Squeak. The TV lights up. What did you say, Son? I said get some rest. Oh. The TV went out before Sue shook his head helplessly. Last night, it was going to be a good night's rest. Get in 100% shape and talk business with your boss. But she was dead set on it, making it accompany him to watch a horror movie. Originally, Suing refused, but it was because she had made a price that Suing couldn't refuse. A full 1,000,000 bazaar coins. And finally, for the sake of money, Sue compromised. It was no wonder that Shi, such an S-ranked creep, was able to become the guest of honor at the Spectre Hotel. What exactly is its identity? Why are your pockets so full? Maybe it wasn't just its face that was being targeted by a peak SS rank creepy. It may also have something to do with its deep pockets. SS Creepy wanted to be promoted to Creepy King and needed tons of resources. Where do the resources come from? Doesn't it cost money again? Perhaps because of this, Lindsay was targeted. At this point, the doorbell rang. Immediately afterward, a voice came from the door. Mr. Sue, the boss has an invitation. Coming. Sue's heart rejoiced. The boss is finally back. There are only 6 hours left until the end of the copy. It is essential to finalize the cooperation with the boss within this time frame. Outside the parlor, the boss was drifting back and forth constantly. It was now in a hurry and was curious to know just how much goods Sue had in his hands. This sample was tested by several of its old friends with very good results. In particular, one of the old guys who wanted to expand his territory was going to pay a huge amount of money to acquire it. The benefits of this were so great that the owner of the Spectre Hotel, was alarmed. I just don't know. How much stock does Sue have in his hands? If it's really well, what he said, as many as you want, that's really scary. A weapon capable of hitting S-class hard at close range. If it could get exclusive rights to sell it, it would become the most powerful creep in the area. The thought of it was a fire in its heart. So after getting the feedback, it rushed back to the hotel overnight to look for Sue to discuss the matter. The owner saw the visitor from afar and greeted him. Sue, you're here. Sue waved his hand, jogged all the way to the boss's near side. Sorry to keep you waiting, boss. Where's the word? Go inside and talk. The boss's attitude made Sue feel that this business was secure. As for the next step, just negotiate the price. Just as he took his seat, the boss couldn't wait to speak. Sue, just how much stock do you have in your hands? Su Xiaohua faintly smiled and asked in return. Boss, how did the sample work? Excellent. A couple of my old friends are very interested. The boss did not hide, and directly informed Sue that there were many shenanigans that were generating a strong interest, but they want them all in larger quantities. Sue tapped his chest. That's not a problem. I can take any order no matter how big. After getting an accurate answer, the owner forced down his inner excitement. Sue, as long as the goods are in place, it's all good price-wise. Sue smiled, not to be outdone. The businessman of the bizarre world came up and threw the question at him. If the price is exposed, the owner will be able to build on the offer and thus maneuver around it. Unfortunately, this trick was useless to Su Xiaoyu, a veteran who had been in the battlefield for a long time. Boss, this is your place after all. Just watch the bidding. This next. Instead, the owner hesitated. It's not sure of the exact value of this thing, not to mention the fact that I don't know exactly how much the SU costs. If the offer is too low, cooperation may break down. If the offer is too high, its interests will be jeopardized. For a businessman, making less money is the same as losing money. Mr. Su guessed what the boss had in mind. Boss, this price is all negotiable. Just feel free to make a bold offer. 100,000? Su put on a bitter face. Boss, I cost more than that. Su, what price do you feel is right? Su Fein thought for a moment. 500,000. No, it's too expensive. The owner flatly refused. The goods can be sold for that price, but it can't be done without its connections. Su, 300,000 at the most. That's the limit of what I can offer. Su got his answer from this reaction of his boss. The Flesh and Blood C4 is priced right around the 500,000 mark. Knowing this important information, he no longer hesitated. Boss, a bite at 400,000. As a partner, I won't put you at a disadvantage. I can guarantee that you'll be the only one selling this lot, and it won't be in any other creepy hands. Besides, I'm only responsible for supplying. I don't interfere with anything else. As for how much you can sell, it's all up to you, boss. The owner was silent for a moment. This source? It's a done deal, Su replied with a smile. First hand, no other human but me. With this answer, the boss no longer hesitated. Mr. Su, happy cooperation. From today onwards you are our Phantom Hotel's supreme VIP customer. At any time the doors of the Spectre Hotel will be open to you. A first-hand source, sold exclusively, meaning it doesn't have any competitors. Relying on its extensive network, sales are not a problem at all. A purchase price of $400,000 can also yield unimaginably large profits. Have fun working together. The owner then produced a deed. Sue, I'll go ahead and inquire with the customer to see how much stock is needed for the first batch. Good. The moment Sue received the contract, a string of scarlet text floated before his eyes. By signing this contract, you will become the most honored guest of the Shadow Hotel, and will unlock many perks. Next moment, game prompts appear. The current player's identity has changed. Player completes hidden mission. Obtain exclusive spooky props, Spectral Hotel Permanent Pass *1. Exclusive creepy props? What the hell is this? Sue instantly widened his eyes. He'd read countless guides for bizarre copies, have seen all kinds of weird props, including many special weird props, but this was the first time he had seen this kind of exclusive weird prop, and it's a permanent pass, not one of those passes that cost 68 every time. Does that mean? Sue held down his inner excitement and opened the panel. Player, Sue. Status, Supreme VIP Customer. Physical Fitness, 35. Spirit, 95. Capability, not yet available. Assets, 110. 100 bizarre coins. Spooky props, double dolls, permanent passes to the Dark Hotel, the Phantom Hotel with a permanent pass, in the real world. Use this pass to teleport directly to the Spectre Hotel. Note, players cannot use this pass after being selected for a spooky copy. Overall rating, A. Good stuff. Good stuff. I was worried about what I would do if I couldn't get in line by then. It doesn't bother me now. You know, even if you pass the copy and get priority exploration, the nature of this weird copy, which remains unchangeable, is that it's a single-player copy and there is a time limit for each entry into the replica. Wait for Sue to go in once and come out again. Next time, hell knows when it'll be scheduled. With this pass, then you don't have to worry about that anymore. Meanwhile, a piece of data caught Sue's attention. Mental power, 95. When he first entered the replica he only had 50 points of spiritual energy. He didn't even know when it had increased so much. Now even if he didn't use the flesh and blood sandhawk, he was able to defend himself against the mental contamination brought on by the shenanigans on his own. As to what it was that caused all of this is unknown at this time. Your guests, please dine. A single sentence brought Sue Darius back to reality. Only to see, Yelatarov pushed the food cart and came to Sue. Hey, Torov, what brings you here? Yelatarov volunteered to show his panel. Thanks to you, I'm now a hotel chef. Player, Eltarov. Status, chef. Physical fitness, 35. Spirit, 30. Ability, Stampede. Assets, 100 weirdo coins. Overall rating, C+. After that incident, the head of security placed him in the kitchen. In the kitchen he is unattended and wants to eat and sleep. It was safe to say that last night was the best day of his life. That's good, but after taking a bite of steak, Sue's face twitched. Torov, did you make this steak? Yeah, isn't it pretty good? I made it medium rare for you on purpose. Soundbite. By the way, where did the original cook go? That creepy seems to have been placed in the security brigade. Oh, I have things to do. You can have this steak. Sue made an excuse and left the parlor straight away. He didn't realize that the hardest part of this copy was eating steak. What's more, I didn't think that a human cooking was even close to creepy. On the bright side, it's a medium rare steak. To put it bluntly, it's actually chucked beef. The point is, this Torov guy also added snooze loads of salt to it. It's so true to the lyrics of the song. I was afraid of Guile, but Guile didn't hurt me a bit. I'm not afraid of people, but people have hurt me all over. When we get out of the copy, we have to make this guy give $1 million or $800,000 for moral damages. This is the first time I've ever seen fire look so uncomfortable. Let's just say that this Maoist, how bad is his cooking that he can scare our brother away? God's medium rare. Isn't that a sandwich? What can I say about a medium rare steak? It's a little hard to swallow. Many of the Dragon Nation viewers sniffed at it. They happened to see Sue's bitter expression and flirted with it in their pop-ups. Since the shooting, everyone knows that Longwei is stable. Passing the copy is just a matter of time. Special teams, on the other hand, the atmosphere is not so good. Since turning off the permissions, this was the only place left to be able to check on Sue. Except for the spiritual void Taoist master who was huffing and puffing in the corner. Everyone else was tense and deadpan, staring at the live feed. Fear of missing any details and the opportunity to learn. But the more you look at it, the more numb you get and the more you break down. Is this humanly possible? Blow up walls with C4, collapse shenanigans with AKs, and tease female ghosts on the side at night. The most outrageous part was talking business with the store owner. One flesh and blood C4 400,000 bizarre coins. the combined assets of the special ops team members don't add up to that much. The point is, there are no clues to be found about any of these bizarre weapons at all. In addition to this, the panel discovered a startling fact. It's not just in the creepy world that the source of Sue's weapons can't be traced. In the real world, the same is true. Although probing each transaction and even checking out the details of each transaction in this, but it was never clear where these weapons actually came from. It was as if these weapons just appeared out of thin air. While the owner went to ask for a price, Sue was going to go back to her room to get some rest. After all, there was no rest all night. After the head of excitement had passed, fatigue swept over the mind once again. After slowing down to get back to 423, just as he opened his mouth, he saw Lindsay, who had her hands busy in the corner turning off the TV. What are you doing? No, nothing. Sue came up to Lindsay at once. Really? Facing the nearby Sue. Lynn, she's little heart thumped up. Really no. Why are your ears red? As he spoke, Sue gave a gentle squeeze. Hot. It was Sue's turn to be puzzled. That's not weird. Why are your ears still burning? Ouch. Yuck. Lindsay fled and ducked into the TV. This confusing operation confused Sue, but after seeing the DVD that was still running, and the strange behavior that Lindsay had just displayed, Sue was instantly numb. Shouldn't it be? When he turned on the TV, he was greeted by none other than Tokyo no Hotter's homemaker. Must have woken up from a nap and was looking for a disc to watch to relieve his boredom, but it didn't know that all of them were love action movies except for the disc that Sue had found. That's what led to such an oops. Thinking of this, Sue's heart was suddenly a little itchy. According to this, isn't Shenanigans okay? Just as he was about to go to the well and tease Lindsay, the doorbell suddenly rang. Sue, the boss's urgent voice came in from outside the house. Coming. The boss drifted in just as Sohn opened the door. Sue, here comes a big deal. How much do I need? 100 SS. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. 100. That's a pretty big list. 400. 000 for 100, that's 4 million. Phew. With this amount of money, you'll be able to almost finish unlocking all of the bottom arsenal. When do you want it? Now. 70% of the total payment is paid first, and the rest is settled when the customer has inspected the goods. No problem. Come on, Sue, I'll take you to get the money. 70% of $4 million, or $28 million. Even the bosses don't carry that much money on them. Inside the depot, 100 pieces of flesh and blood C4 piled up into a small mountain. The owner looked at Koyama with joy. Sue looked at the panel balance and was equally happy. $28 million. That's quite a start. Quickly go back and see how many weapons you can unlock. But he had just taken 2 steps when his boss stopped him. Sue, don't go yet. I'm going to have to trouble you to explain it to my friend later. Chapter 16:16. Goat creepy, devil's pupil. No problem. That little thing is on me. The customer is God. Now the boss is Sue's God. He was still able to do such a small request. Sue, on the one hand I'm not sure about this C. The boss suddenly got stuck when he said that. Sue added at the right time. C4 bombs. The owner danced around his black robes and seemed excited. Oh, yeah, the C4 bomb operation isn't well understood. The other thing is that I want to introduce you to this friend of mine. It's not like me. I'm relying on this special creepy prop of the Phantom Hotel too. It's what has made us the people in the position we are in today, and it has real power. If we show it our best, then we will have a big client. Although the boss had shown the power of the C4 to the outside world, it didn't know much about the weapon after all. Unable to show the power as well as the utility of the C4 to perfection. That's why it wanted to ask Sue to help. You know, the trick lightning that was set up on the 7th floor. It made it, an SS-ranked guile, suffer a small dark loss. If it wasn't the owner of this shadowy hotel, I'm afraid it would have suffered a heavy blow with that one. Sue tapped his chest. Don't worry, boss, that's exactly what I'm good at. To know. In the real world, he rose step by step from a nobody to become an arms tycoon. In addition to the quality of the arms, his superb salesmanship is indispensable. Explaining a C4 to a creep who doesn't know anything about weapons doesn't even come close. After waiting for close to an hour, Sue couldn't help but look at the boss. Less than 3 hours remain until the end of the copy. Boss, when is the client arriving? I've got 3 hours left on my side. He hadn't tried the pass yet and didn't know if there were any restrictions on that thing. If there was a limit, then he wouldn't be able to make it back to the hotel for a while. The boss drifted around the warehouse a few times before speaking up. Don't worry, it'll be here soon. It will take up to an hour to get here from its territory. Just as the two men were talking, a small trick arrived in a fiery hurry. Boss. It went into the storage room and suddenly went quiet when it realized that Sue was here as well. After a whispered report to his boss, Guile left the warehouse cold. Sue, there's a thing. The owner didn't seem to know what to say and stopped in mid-sentence. Just say what you have to say, boss. Sue thumped in his heart when he saw this kind of behavior from his boss. His grandma. It's not like the deal is going to go wrong. Even though 70% of the purchase price was settled, there is still 30% left to be settled. What if the customer doesn't want it and the owner insists on returning it? Sue, the client has arrived. Only it has set its trading location in the back of the mountain. In that case, then let's go. It was only after saying these words that Sue came back to his senses, realizing that it's not that simple, and that there must be something weird going on in the backcountry. Otherwise the boss couldn't have been so hesitant. Boss, does that mean there's something wrong with the backcountry? When it came to this point, the boss indexed to inform Suyao. Although the back of the mountain belonged to its territory, the ghosts of the Dark Hotel did not envelop it. This means that the backwoods weirdness has not been suppressed. Their rules for killing can be unleashed with impunity. That's why the owner hesitated. Within the ghostly confines of the shadowy hotel, it had 100% confidence in protecting Sue, but in the backcountry, it can't be 100%. With it in place, it ensures that clients don't strike out. But what if the client doesn't make a move? What if someone else does? Sue, the decision is yours. If you don't want to go, I won't force it. After all, it's a matter of life and death, and I don't want to lose such an important partner as you because of a minor accident. But what the boss didn't expect was for Sue to shake his head. No, I'm going. He's planning on becoming the arms baron of the whole weird world. You can't avoid dealing with weirdness in the future. If he had been under the protection of his boss, he would have wimped out. How else is he going to be the fiercest man in the bizarro world? The owner no longer hesitates. Yes, Sue, I admire your courage. I won't let you do it for nothing this time. I'll give you 5 million bizarre coins when it's over, as a fee for this hire. The moment. The backcountry was densely packed with weirdness. To a lesser extent, there are a couple hundred of them. The scariest part was that the worst of these shenanigans reached a grade. There were even several that had reached the SS level of spooky. But such a powerful group of bizarre, at this moment, stood neatly in a square. Not much longer. The boss, Sue, and the vast majority of the security brigade's shenanigans, rushed to the back of the mountain. The owner is very serious about this deal. In particular, the safety of the SO is a top priority. So it brings 80% of the shenanigans of the security brigade, and the security chief, a peak S-rank creep, was placed next to Sue. Close protection for them. If anything happens, it will take Sue back to the hotel at the first opportunity. Upon arriving at the agreed-upon place, the owner walked out alone. Old goat, you finally arrived. You don't realize that it was so difficult for me to leave this shipment behind. Ha ha, that's why I came in the first place. Sue stood in the midst of the creepy group and looked over at the sound. A short-shirt, goat-headed creep on a small crutch. Slowly step out from across the room. Just by taking a glance from afar, Sue couldn't help but shiver. That short body exuded a powerful and eerie aura as if it were an abyss. It's hard to imagine such a goat-headed, unassuming-looking fellow. Surprisingly, it would be the leader of that powerful and weird party across the street. The two shenanigans kept talking. Goat Creepy looked over at Suyo as his boss guided him. One man and one trickster, eyes facing each other. Next moment, the goat's eerily horizontal pupils turned into crosses, as if they were demonic eyes. Sue felt like a huge mountain was pressing down on his shoulders. Despite being scared to death in his mind, he glared back. You can't wimp out in this situation. And that breath in your heart can't be dispersed. Once you've fallen short, you don't need a goat to make a weird move. That terrifyingly bizarre aura alone could break Sue's spirit. This state of affairs lasted less than a second before the goat withdrew his gaze. But even so, Sue still bent over in pain. Vom. The security chief was so scared that he hurriedly held Sue. It's okay. Vom. After spitting out that mouthful of steak, Sue felt a lot more relieved. It's all right. Oh yeah, don't let Torov be the cook anymore. He's not very good for it. Security chief? Not buddy, is that right? And the goat's demonic pupils, and glanced at each other. Surprisingly, it was fine. It's not even a problem. You care about the cooks now. Chapter 1717. Multiple playstyles. Shocking and spooky. Backcountry. On the open field. Your Honor, if you please, this weapon is called the Flesh and Blood C4. As for why it's called Flesh and Blood C4, because it's made of flesh and blood. Son was holding the Flesh and Blood C4 and was explaining it, and beside him floated the boss, and beside the boss stood Goathead Creepy. The boss looked at Suing, who was passionately explaining, and couldn't help but admire him in his heart, facing SS-rank shenanigans eloquently without the slightest bit of trepidation. For that alone, not to mention an ordinary human like Sue, even S-rank or even SS-rank shenanigans wouldn't be able to do it. I'm afraid. During the previous conversation, the boss informed Goat Creepy of Sue's importance, but Goat Creepy scoffed at this. There are not 10,000, but 8,000 human lives in its hands. Most of them were killed by a single glance. In the end, it gave the boss face and wasn't going to finish off Sue. Still, it insisted on testing the human. As far as it was concerned, this human passed the test to qualify to explain that weapon to it. The owner couldn't argue with that, so he just agreed. What the boss didn't expect was that Su Yuyao didn't wimp out in the slightest when facing the devil's eye. I was dry puked on, but I eventually persevered. Your Honor, let me tell you that this weapon of mine is very safe. There was a snap. The flesh and blood C4 was heaved to the ground by Su. This action scared the boss. It had cut its teeth on the power of this flesh and blood C4, but that bloody C4 on the ground, no matter how much Su stepped on it, how much he wrestled with it, still no response. The goat nodded. Without words, it seems to be maintaining its big brother pushiness. After a safety test, Su stepped into the thick of things. This flesh and blood C4 is powerful. According to theoretical data, at close range this C4 is even capable of heavily damaging SS-rank shenanigans, capable of inflicting huge amounts of damage to S-rank shenanigans within the normal blast range. Beyond this blast range, this damage will decay indefinitely, but any shenanigans below S-rank will be destroyed outright as long as they're within the blast range. Of course, that's just based on theoretical data. Goat Creepy leaned on his little crutch and walked over to Su. You mean that actually using this weapon doesn't achieve the desired results? Su smiled and looked over at Goat Creepy. That's certainly not true, honored guest. In real combat, if used wisely this C4 will bring more than imaginable effect. Speaking of this, Su turned his words around and pulled out the remote control from his pocket. This bomb of ours is very user-friendly, and this remote control alone is set up with numerous modes. You see, this one is an instantaneous burst mode, while this one is a delayed mode, and this one is a timed mode. Depending on the situation, different modes are available. The owner wanted to give Su a round of applause when he heard this. The transitions are just too silky smooth for Guile to pick out. Goat Creepy's mind spun several times, and he still didn't understand what the modes were for. With all that said, what exactly are these modes good for? That's what Su was waiting for. Of course it works. Try to find out what you intend to do if you ambush the enemy in one place. The goat thought carefully. When the enemy hits, throw the C4 out to blow them up. Hearing this, Su realized that this SS Creepy was also a military idiot. You're ambushing the enemy and you're throwing C4 out to blow people up. Isn't that just plain stupid? What's the point of an ambush if you do that? But Su didn't aspectly point out the goat's bizarre mistake. Blaming the customer is a big no-no in the mall. Noble guest, your method is certainly good, but I have a better plan. This now aroused the goat's bizarre interest. Tell me what works. If we plant the bomb in advance in the path of the enemy, when the enemy reaches this position, we use instant blast. Speaking of which, Su saw the Goat Creepy. Does that achieve the effect of surprise? Yes, but there doesn't seem to be much difference from my approach. Goat Creepy felt that Su's way seemed better at the moment, but it still didn't want to admit it. It really doesn't make much difference if you do it yourself. What if it's replaced with a regular little creep? In this case, the enemy will walk into the heart of the blast unguarded. Does this kill more enemies? Su looked at the two Guile's slightly surprised expressions and decided to give them a little kick in the pants. Of course, there are other ways to play than this approach to instantaneous explosions. I'll make an analogy on instantaneous explosions. If the enemy enters our ambush circle, our side is a little creep with better eyesight, and the opposite side is SS-ranked creepy. It may not kill it by blowing it up, but it can definitely disable it. A little trick to make the opposite side lose an important combatant. Do I make myself clear to your guest? Goat Creepy? Boss? Su came down with a few words. Both creeps were shocked. They never expected bombs to play like this. Not to mention the normal little shenanigans. Even if it's a heavy SS-ranked shenanigans at the cost of an S-ranked death. It's all blood money. Even a goat as strong as the SS-ranked creepy goat was not calm. If this could really be applied to real combat, it would really be horrible. Is this program feasible? Absolutely feasible. Can you demonstrate? The owner cheerfully chimed in. Yeah, Su, just demonstrate. It wants to see if it can achieve this effect under real combat. Use this as a promotional ad if you can. Su's face twitched. How does this demo? They have a SS-ranked creepy on their side, and it's still the boss. Can't have the boss on it. What if I blow up the West for the boss? Your guests. I'm sorry I can't demonstrate. Why? The goat's weird pupils instantly turned into crosses. Does that mean you're playing me? Mister. Su laughed bitterly. Noble guest. That's not it, but I can't find the creepy test. I can't always. With that said, he looked over at his boss. The owner stirred. Instantly sober. Old goat. We don't really have any SS-ranked shenanigans on our side. The goat heard this and tapped his head. The cross pupil reverted to a horizontal pupil in an instant. Oops, forgot about that. I almost forgot you guys don't have any SS rank shenanigans under your command. Sue, oh nar. I always feel humiliated, but I can't find a reason to refute it. Just use mine. I have quite a few SS rank shenanigans under my belt. Okay, then I'll demonstrate. Sue also wanted to take this opportunity to try out just how powerful Flesh and Blood C4 was. Soon the grounds were set up. 2 flags were planted in a large clearing in the back of the hill. Sue held the remote and pointed to the goat at the green flag in the distance. Noble guest, have your men first go and pull out the green flag, then the red. That's it? Yeah, that's it. Chapter 1818. Heart explosions. Nerd creepiness. That's good? Where is C4 buried? Goat Creepy and Boss witnessed the whole thing, but they only saw Sue insert the flag and did not see him stay there. Really ready? Sue pulled out the remote control and nodded with a smile. Ready. Receiving this answer, Goat Creepy no longer hesitated and beckoned to his men who were not far away. Old 6, come here. Coming, boss. A bloated, green-robed Creepy trotted over. When Suing saw its original face, the whole person couldn't tense up. Mud horses, and this weirdness? It's like the Prime Minister of the Turtle in Journey to the West, a real old bastard, especially that real turtle head. Looking at Sue almost laughed out loud. He forced a smile and pointed to the flag in the distance. Noble guest, just have your men go and take the 2 flags back. Goat Creepy froze for a moment, and despite the doubts in his mind, he commanded, Old 6, go and pick the 2 flags back, and remember to be careful on the way. Yes, boss. Only to see that the old bastard retracted his short limbs along with his turtle head into his green robe. The next moment, it rolled toward the flag like a wind turbine. Whoa, how did that happen so fast? That flying speed really shocked Sue. Goat Creepy twirled its goatee and bragged, that's natural. Don't look at this old bastard bloated. But its speed is unusual and weird, simply can't catch up. It shows Old King 8-1 for a total of 2 reasons. Number 1, it's fast. Number 2, this guy is sturdier. In case you do get blown up. Not really hit hard. Even for it, SS rank shenanigans were an extremely important battle force. When the boss saw this scene, he couldn't help but whisper to Sue Darius at his side to inquire. Sue, that guy's so fast, can he blow up? Sue glanced at the rapidly rolling green orb and said with a smile, don't worry, no problem. Upon receiving this reply, the owner couldn't hold back his inner curiosity. Sue, where exactly did you bury C4? Buried? Sue raised an eyebrow. I didn't bury it. I just dropped it on the road by hand. Boss? Goat Creepy? No wonder we only see Sue planting flags and not seeing him laying mines. Feeling for the kid and dropping it on the road in passing. Will it be too conspicuous? The owner's mind tensed up. It cut its teeth on the power of this C4. But now it's the practicality of the C4 that has to be verified. If you don't get it right, you will lose Goat Creepy as a big client. After all, a single one is a list of tens of millions of dollars. It's not easy to find such a big client. Sue smiled and shook his head. Don't worry, it's no problem. Listening to the conversation between the one man and the trickster, the goat trickster narrowed his eyes into the distance. It was confident in its opponent that the old bastard would definitely choose to go around when he realized the abnormality. As long as this time, Sue didn't get it. It will be able to take advantage of the situation and drive the purchase price of the C4 down a bit when the time comes. What's more, some of the things that Sue told us, in its view, it does have merit. That's a good use of C4. It does improve the overall strength of their team significantly in a short period of time. At this point, Old King Buster fetched the first green flag. What was a rolling green ball has now become a rolling green ball with a flag stuck in it. Su Xiaohua froze from a great distance and couldn't see how the old bastard did it. The boss watched this scene with some anxiety. In case this old bastard really brought back the 2 flags intact, that's a lot of shenanigans for it. Now it somewhat regretted how it had agreed to let Sue go and show the old goat. Isn't that like throwing a rock at your own feet? Note, boss floating without feet. Seeing that the old bastard was about to reach the position of the second flag, the boss panicked. Sue, why don't you do it yet? Not in position yet. But the next moment, the old king's bastard actually chose to turn around where he was after obtaining the flag. Looking at the old bastard who returned according to the original way, the boss's heart went cold. This old bastard even chose to return the same way. This is finished. Subsequently the old goat, a stingy guy, will surely be dead set on driving down the price. After all, the old bastard didn't know the exact location of C4. It didn't get blown up, so let's just say it's too sharp. Goat Creepy couldn't help but laugh at this scene. It seems to be the way to go, and it doesn't seem to be working. I see that follow-up business requires. The words were not yet spoken. Boom! There was a loud bang. The green ball with 2 flags planted in it was blown right out of the air. The owner exclaimed in shock at the sight. Whoopee, take off. And then it turned its head to look at Goat Creepy. Old Goat, what did you just say from? The explosion was too loud. I didn't hear it clearly. Goat Creepy. Seeing that the goat was weirdly silent, the boss greeted his man. Go see how it goes. Goat Creepy's face complexly glanced at Suzhou. No need to go. Wait for the old bastard to come back. This kid, he's a real. Hell no. He dropped the C4 between the two flags. Okay. The boss then drank in his men and sent them back to stand by. Su stared carefully at the smoke. No? This old bastard is so tough? The owner relied on the Phantom Hotel to keep from getting hit hard. You know the old bastard was within the core blast range. That's alright? Could it be that old bastard's defense was comparable to the special weird prop? The SS grade Spectral Hotel? After not much time, the old bastard rolled slowly out of the rolling smoke. What had been a green ball became a black ball and much slower. However, the fact that the old bastard could still roll proved that it hadn't been seriously injured. In the boss's place, he'd have to be badly crippled if not dead. Not much longer. The old bastard returns. The glands was blasted black. The green robe was blasted down to a few rags, leaking out the turtle shell inside. The back of the turtle shell is even more densely packed with spiderweb-like cracks. Obviously it was the turtle shell that took the pounding. The old bastard was crying and holding two bear sticks. Boss, the pieces are gone. Suzanne? Boss? It's not iron. Your ing blown up and you care about chess pieces? Goat Creepy was overwhelmed with shock when he saw the turtle shell on the verge of shattering. The turtle shell was a companion weird object of the old king's octopus, especially the back, which was incomparably strong. But this was all blown up and replaced with other SS rank shenanigans under it, not to mention being incapacitated. It's a question of whether or not you'll survive. Old Six, are you okay? No, it's just that the pieces are gone. Sue couldn't help it and said, but your shell looks like it's about to break. The old bastard was still crying. I can grow my shell again, but not the pieces. This puts Goat Creepy all whole speechless. This guy, alright, Old Six, go back. Seeing the goat weird this way, Sue smiled and looked at it. Your Honor, are you still satisfied with the power of this C4 of ours? Chapter 1919, Special Weirdness, one of the Mist Clans. Not bad, not bad. Goat Creepy nodded calmly on the surface, but in reality, he had already set off a shocking wave. That's just the power of one. If you buy a few more of them, the effect will definitely be even more horrifying. The main thing is that this C4 is not difficult to operate. Just find any good-eyed and trustworthy little creep and press the remote. I don't know if other models can achieve this effect. The goat spooked and then asked a question. This instantaneous explosion is easy. So what is the appropriate situation to use this delayed mode? Delayed mode? Isn't that just a play on blowing up your own truck? In Chicken, this kind of play is very common. Delayed mode for offense. If you are faced with a stronghold that has been under attack for a long time, it is most appropriate to use the delayed mode. However, the method is divided into two. A total success rate of relatively low, a success rate of relatively high, but that kind of takes a small price to pay. Higher success rate, a small price to pay. The second method aroused the goat's bizarre curiosity. At what cost? Little existential and fast-running shenanigans. Sue knows these creepy what nature. To them, low-level shenanigans would have been cannon fodder. It's just a way of saying that to maintain a positive image of themselves. Goat Creepy thought hard about it, and eventually gave up. Can't figure out what the point of this little shenanigans is. When it was at war with other forces, this kind of small trickery couldn't even be considered cannon fodder. Such little shenanigans are a dime a dozen in the creepy world, and are no price to pay. In that case, then, I'll say it. Sue drew two circles on the ground. Suppose we were to attack this place, and the enemy has deployed a lot of shenanigans here, and we can't take this place. Just strap C4 to them, activate delay mode, and let them run across the street. Of course, we could have driven off more of them, too. Just hide a couple of little shenanigans with C4 strapped to them. SS. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. What a wolf extermination. This little guy is so guileless to care about that even if he runs to the opposite stronghold, the opposite side probably won't care. Goat Creepy looked at Suzhou with a complicated face. And the first? Dispatch a creepy to sneak across the street quietly with a C4. And upon activating the C4, quick evacuation. The boss was dumbfounded. It didn't realize that this little C4 could be played in so many ways. Goat Creepy muses on the sidelines. How often can you take the territory it has long been eyeing with this approach? The copy is about to end. Players are requested to be at the mission location and wait for the transmission. If this time is exceeded, the player's mission will automatically be judged as a failure. Game hints that pop up. Sue hurriedly checked it out. 30 minutes left on the end of the copy. Boss, I'm running out of time, so I'll go back to the hotel first. The owner nodded. On his way out, Su also said slyly at the goat. Your Honor, I'll explain the rest of the game to you when you come back next time. Escorted by the head of security, Su left the back of the mountain. You boys have picked up a real gem. Goat Creepy gave the owner a slightly sour look. The boss was a little smug in his mind, but his mouth still said, all right. The goat wiggled his hand weirdly. Now that Su had left, it didn't want to waste its time here. It wanted to get back quickly and see what the hell this C4 could blast the enemy into. The boss sniffed and waved at the lieutenant. One eye, bring the goods. Goat Creepy meanwhile beckoned to his men. Okay, Dick, bring the money back. Both sides very quickly. One party counts the money and one party inspects the goods. Less than a minute later, the deal was official. Have fun working together. On his way out, Goat Creepy also pre-ordered a large amount of C4 bombs. Hotel. Inside the office, the owner made up the rest of the payment for the goods to Su. 12 million, plus the $5 million previously promised. A total of 17 million bizarre coins. With a full $4 million of goods, Su was on the verge of leaving Harakiri when he looked at it. Su, how much stock do you have on hand now? How much do you need? Boss? The owner thought for a moment. 1,000 SS. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. A superb order of $400 million. The boss has a big appetite. I'm not afraid of choking to death. A big order of $400 million. If you take the original 70% of the purchase price, that would also require 280 million bizarre coins. Boss, can you eat? The owner said with a smile. Su, do you know how much the old goat booked from me? Su had rushed back to the hotel early, so he didn't know. 500? The owner exclaimed. How do you know? Guess. That's a guess? Su shrugged. It's simple. If it's a small order, you can't ask for so much at once, boss. And that amount is certainly more than the list. After all, in business, you can't just sell one. The boss drifted around Su. Su, I feel so lucky to have you as a partner. Ha ha, that's natural. Cooperation is the only way to win together. Speaking of which, Su pulled the conversation back to that big list of $400 million. Boss, this $280 million deposit is indeed a bit much. Tell you what, I'll take 100 million, and you can sell the goods first. You'll make up the rest of the payment for the goods when I get back. Fine. The boss had been struggling with how to talk about this. 280 million for it to take out all at once. It would really have to lose half its life. Let's go. To the depot. No, just give it to me directly. Su, the owner opened his black robe. A small swirl of black mist formed immediately afterward. Boss, you still have that? Sasumo asked as he stuffed C4 into the small vortex. The owner cheerfully picks up the goods. This is a racial talent unique to our clan. Suzanne, Creepy still has a race? Points. There are many types of creepy creatures. After shoving the last of the flesh and blood C4 into the vortex of black mist, Su couldn't help but stick his head into the vortex. He wants to see what it's really like in here. Packed with 1,000 pieces of flesh and blood C4. None of it has changed. The movement really frightened the boss. And two arms formed of black mist that, hurry up and yank it out. Once an ordinary human touches dead space, their souls will be sucked in. Eventually the body will be reduced to an empty orifice. It shook violently as it yanked Su out. Su, are you okay? There's nothing going on right now, but there will be if you panic any longer. The owner hurriedly stopped what he was doing. Su thought the owner didn't like not looking at its belly. Not to mention, no greeting. It's a bit rude to poke your head in other people's bellies. Boss, don't be so stingy. It's just a look at your belly. Besides, I don't see anything. It's pitch black. Chapter 2020. Exclusive warehouse. Dead space. The owner froze. What the hell is going on here? Gundam did poke its head into its dead space. Does that mean it's not human? Instead, what's weird? Su looked at the boss who froze in the air and said awkwardly, Boss, why don't I send you some other weapons, so we don't hurt our peace over this? The boss snapped back to his senses when he heard this. Su, you're really not in discomfort? Hearing this, Su reacted. Could it be that thing that was just there? Something weird? No, it's you who's weird. Me? Su pointed at his nose and asked rhetorically, what can I be weird about? The boss circled around Su several times, and after inspecting him carefully, it was determined that he was human, but it couldn't figure out why its dead space was useless against Su. Thinking of this, the boss suddenly flew out. Su, wait for me. I'll go find someone to test it on. Testing something? Su hurriedly chased after him. That's not a normal reaction. There's definitely something weird going on. Boss, take me with you. The boss folded back and yanked up Su as soon as he could. At the moment, the hall, Yelatarov and Bellic are passionately spraying each other. It's really worthy of being a high-level player who has cleared 2 A-ranked copies. His arm was chopped off and he's fine. Bitch, if you hadn't reported me, how would I be? You're the reason I got punished and didn't get lunch. If they hadn't been afraid of the hotel's rules, they would have fought. The two of them were like shrews cursing each other. Live stream. The viewers of Lighthouse and Harry Bear ran to each other's live streams. The Lighthouse deserves to be a nation of thieves and robbers who steal from the kitchen. This Maoist is really worse than a stinking, not just taking some food. It's surprising to report, Mr. Belloc. It's time to sanction the Harry Bears hard and show them what we lighthouses are made of. Yeah, you guys are the best. So don't you come stealing from our Torov's kitchen. Belloc has lost nothing more than an arm. But we, Mr. Torov, are missing a meal. The reason the two men went toe-to-toe was simple. Belloc steals from the kitchen and is caught red-handed by Yelatarov. He'd persuaded, and Belloc had put things back, because those food were prepared for Sue. But I didn't realize that not only did Belloc not give the stuff back when he found out about it, and humiliated the SOB, Yelatarov, who had been saved several times by Sue, reported the matter directly to the chief of security. Final results. Bilaka had his entire arm chopped off by the head of security. Yelatarov was only penalized for not having lunch because of the so. In a sense, the two are now mortal enemies. At this point, the boss flew down the hall and threw Sue to the ground as soon as he could. Sue, is that guy a friend of yours? Vom. Sue held back his vomiting and glanced in the direction of the boss's finger. No. Then I'll experiment with him. Sue bent down and waved his hand, signaling the boss to make himself at home. After seeing Sue like this, Yelatarov rushed over to support him. Sue, what's wrong with you? When Xiao Tsing saw it, she hurriedly received a glass of water. So fire. What's wrong with you? It took a small half cup of water for Sue to slow down and come back. It's okay, the boss flew too fast and gave me a dizzy spell. As expected of fire, even the way he comes out is different. His letting an SS-ranked creepy hold over. Our brother Fire has a lot of face. I've seen motion sickness. I've seen seasickness. But this is the first time I've seen a trick. I'm laughing my ass off. Ding. Lighthouse Nation player, Belloc eliminated. Suzanne? Yelatarov? Audience? How can you turn your face away from it? The Lighthouse Nation audience, in particular, was numb. With only a dozen points left, you can avoid the creepy copy from descending. Never in a million years did Belloc expect to get a second from his boss. It was then that Sue noticed that not far away, Belloc was lying motionless on the ground. The boss floated in front of his body, muttering, No, it shouldn't be. What's wrong? Sue frowned at Belloc's corpse and spat in his heart. That's ugly. The whole thing twisted into a ball to one side and it was as if something had been forcibly extracted from Belloc's body. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. But as he watched, Sue turned his head to look at the boss. Shouldn't that little vortex suck it up? The boss came up next to Sue and pinched his face. Sue, why are you okay? How do I know? Maybe I'm better? Impossible. Whether human or bizarre is sucked in by the vortex, it will die. Then why am I fine? Is it because I'm mentally stronger? Want to try again? No. Sue decisively declined the offer. Previously, it was simply a matter of curiosity, not realizing that the small vortex could suck souls. If he'd known, he wouldn't have pushed his head in at all. The scene. It was taken in by the audience. They seemed to have discovered an unmitigated truth that the boss's weird black mist vortex was useless against Sue. Now, one man and one trick reversed. The boss pestered Sue and had to let him in to take a look. To be honest, it was also curious about what exactly was inside the dead space. Since its inception, it has been used to do nothing but store things against the enemy. This is the first time I've ever seen someone stick their head in there and be okay. Okay, I'm going to find Lindsay. Oh, well then. It was only when Sue moved out Lindsay that she escaped the clutches of her boss. After 2 steps, though, he turned around and came back. Boss, how much can you fit in this vortex? I don't know, but it should be pretty big. The boss shook its head. It didn't know how big the dead space was. Unfortunately, time is running out now. Otherwise, Sue would have to figure out a way to experiment with just how big the boss's dead space was. If it was big enough, it could be his exclusive warehouse in the weird world. At that moment, Sue twisted his head, just in time to see that Sin was yanking Belloc's head inside its big mouth. This scene made Sue's face twitch as he watched. Although, he didn't care if Belloc lived or died, but he still couldn't accept such a thing. Don't swallow it, too much garbage will give you an upset stomach. Sue tugged on Belloc's legs and yanked him out hard. Oh, well then. Shu Sin paused for a moment, and then said, but I'm just cleaning up the trash. The boss explained after noticing Sue's strange expression. Sue, Shu Sin is the front desk and housekeeping for our hotel. We've had forces come to us to negotiate, and when they don't get along, they start fighting. So there's more trash generated. Suzanne? Yelatorov? Audience? No. Is there such a thing as cleanup? Holy, no wonder I saw the receptionist go to that A-list creepy room earlier. Feelings are going to clean up the garbage. Chapter 21. Contract completion. S-class creepiness. Good boy. Let's not eat that foreign garbage. Sue looked at Sin, still trying to deal with Bellic. I'll bring you something good to eat when I get back. What a treat. The good food of the human world is much better than this foreign trash. And you're the front desk and the face of the hotel. It's always a little bad for our hotel if a guest sees it. These last two sentences were purposely said by Sue to the boss to hear. The boss heard Suzhou's meaning and inquired, Sue, so what do you see to do with all this junk? Boss, I suggest we build an incinerator. When the time comes it will be easy to kill people over. But it's to make it easier for us to get rid of the trash. The boss thought carefully and took Sue's advice. That works. Even though it is a safe area, bloodshed occurs from time to time, especially when some forces come here to negotiate. They cool off in batches. Sometimes the cumulative amount is too much for Shu-sin to eat. The hotel has also received a number of complaints because of this. This operation stunned the old iron on the air. I don't know what to say, but Fire's a tough guy. Why do I get the feeling that Fire wants to make this place a dark store where the living live the more they live? Don't need to feel it. It's just a way to make the whole place a dark store. End of hotness. End of hotness. The innocent boss is going to be brought down. Do you guys think it's possible that the follow-up Fire is still trying to sell arms in the store? At this point, a string of scarlet lettering surfaced. We're in the final stage, and the replica will be settled in 10 minutes. Note, it is very easy to trigger the final reward hidden quest at this stage. Suzy and Yelichirov exchanged glances. Both sides saw the shock in each other's eyes. Torov, did you give out hidden quests? Mr. Sue, you issued them too? Sue nodded and looked at the hidden quest in front of him. Hidden quest, use the contract roll to successfully contract a copy before it is settled. Successful packs will result in the acquisition of corresponding spooky abilities and the ability to bring the spooky back to reality. Note, if the contract fails, it will be judged as a mission failure. So please choose carefully. What is your mission? Torov? Deed bizarre. Yelichirov said with slight regret. What a shame. None of the shenanigans in this hotel are something I can afford to mess with. On any other simple task, he might even take a shot. But the contract's bizarrely difficult and ultra-high quest made him lose any idea. He has a clear cognition of his own strength. If not for Mr. Sue could not survive until now as a toss-up. The two conversed, creating a furor on the air. Vulgaria. Deed shenanigans. What kind of counterintuitive luck is this? Ever since Thriller Games came down, there have been only a handful of players who have triggered the final bonus mission. And there was even only one whose final reward quest was a contractual shenanigans. It's a shame, though. This player attempted to contract an A-class creepy, and it backfired. The copy that would have made it through successfully ultimately failed. Yelichirov gulped as he looked at the stupidly named Sue. Mr. Sue, you don't want to go, do you? Sue nodded and headed straight for the elevator. He had someone in mind when this mission came up. See this scene. Most of the Dragon Nation audience tensed up. There is a change in whether or not you can complete the duplicate mission. Last time, that A-rank creepy could be 100% obedient. No one expected that it would backfire on players at the last minute. Brother Fire, think twice. The lives of your brothers are in your hands. Don't bother. Don't bother. This copy reward is enough. *** Fire really got away. 4th floor. Just as the elevator opened, Sue rushed out of the elevator. Time is short. We must hurry. Tooth my. A gasp came from inside the room. Suzuki? Opening the door to his room, he saw Lindsay again, who was fumbling to turn off the TV. At this moment, not only were its ears red, but its face also carried a flush. However, right now, Sue's mind wasn't on this. I'm leaving in 10. Oh no. 8 minutes. Ha? Lindsay was a bit caught off guard by this news, dumbfounded for several seconds before asking stupidly, where are you going? Back to my world. Oh, Lindsay's small heart couldn't stop pumping, despite the fact that he hadn't known Son for long and hadn't been bullied much yet. But these past 2 days have been one of the few happy times in his life. So you'll be back? Sue didn't reply, bullying his way forward and grabbing Lindsay. Will you come back with me? Ha? Will you come back with me? Willing. A trace of sadness passed over Lindsay's face. But I don't have access to your world. It's been hiding for a long time, during which time it's tried everything. This includes traveling to other worlds, but they all failed. If it is not by chance the Dark Hotel, I am afraid that it would have fallen into the hands of the devil. Without further hesitation, Sue took out a contract. Sign this and I'll take you back to my world. Lindsay? It's been on the run in the bizarro world for 100 years. It's a little goofy, but it's not stupid. Sue, you're not trying to abduct me, are you? How is that possible? Mister. Sue had a righteous look on his face. Then you crave my money. What are you talking about? Is my brother a man who lacks money? Then you crave my body. Su Xiaohua gently hugged Lindsay. Come with me. I can take you to good food and fun. No more fear. No more hiding at the bottom of a well. Lindsay shuddered slightly, tears running down her cheeks, but after thinking about it, it still gently pushed Sue away. It knew exactly what such a contract represented, and once it was signed, they were bound together. Most of all, it was impossible for Sue to stay in the human world all the time. Eventually, it's time to go back to the bizarro world. It will only harm Sue staying with him. Sue guessed what Lin Shi was thinking and gently wiped its tear tracks with her hand. It's just an SS-ranked creepy. What's there to be afraid of? These words sparked a glimmer of hope in Lin Shi's heart. You're sure you can handle SS-rank shenanigans? Sue said carefully. No. The smile on Lindsay's face came to an abrupt end. But soon, Lindsay reacted that Sue was teasing it. Angry, it hammered hard at Sue. Humph, ignore you. Sue caught Lin Shi's hand and pulled it into his arms. Okay, no kidding. At this stage, I can't get SS-ranked shenanigans, but I'm sure I can protect you. So, willing to come back with me? Lin Shi snuggled into Su Ying's arms and nodded slightly. Next moment, Su set aside Lin Shi and picked up the deed. Lin Shi looked at Su Xiaohui with a slight grudge and left a mark on the contract. Well, go calm down, Lindsay. Chapter 22. Copy settlement, Super SS grade evaluation. Successfully contracted S-Class Creepy. Congratulations to the player for completing the ultimate reward quest. The moment the contract was completed, Su felt a strange force appear within his body. Lin Shi looked at Su Xiaohui with a grumpy face. Before signing the contract, he was still a gentle and warm man. Surprisingly so after signing the pact. This stinking man, the thought reminded it of the little movie it had just watched. Only the male lead becomes Su, and it substitutes for the female lead. That man is like sewn, with his pants up. Instantly, its cheeks reddened to teapot bubbles, and Su couldn't wait to open his personal panel. Player, Su. Status, Supreme VIP Customer. Physical Fitness, 35. Spirit, 150. Capability, Gate Ryworld. Assets, 1. 400. 500 Bizarre Coins. Deed of Eccentricity, Lindsay. Spooky Props, Double Dolls. Permanent Passes to the Dark Hotel. Overall Rating, S. The original stat panel had an extra stat, Deed Shenanigans, and an extra ability, SS. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. When Su clicked in to take a look, he instantly sucked in a breath of cold air. Door Inworld, you can build a passage to the Inworld through any mirror. Inworld? Could it be the dry well that Lindsay constructed? So did he gain the ability to travel to the Wither Well? Or did he just build an Inworld on his own? Su looked toward the TV and thought. Squeak! The screen lit up instantly. After a few brief flickers, the dry well appeared. No, Su, how could you? When Lin Shi saw this scene, his entire guile was completely dumbfounded. It knew that after the deed was done, the human would randomly gain a bizarre kind of ability. But it's not right. It's its inner world that's sewn opened. Ouch. Me. Su didn't expect that when he opened it, it was really Lin Shi's inner space. This means that one person and one guile share the same mileage space. Go. Ha? Lin Shi didn't react before being picked up by Su Zhou. Yeah. Why is it so hot? Lin Shi didn't dare to look directly at Su Xiaohui and stumbled. Scared. I'm here. So what's the point of being afraid? In a dry well, Su held Lindsay and checked its data. Creepy, Lindsay. Race, unknown. Ability, Gate Ryworld. Unknown. Grade, S. Other than the ability and rank, all other information is unknown. Why does the panel show unknown? What's going on? Could it be that Lindsay is some kind of special creep? Since no player has ever successfully contracted creepy, resulting in no cheats available. This can only be figured out slowly by Son himself. Why is it still so hot? Being hugged by Su Zhou like this, Lin Shi really couldn't calm down. No, nothing. Su Xiaohua put his hand on Lin Shi's waist and gently squeezed it. As an old driver, he naturally knew what was going on with Lin Shi. However, his mind was in the inner world right now, and he didn't have time for anything else. You said that the inner world, since you can build a passageway to enter through any mirror, then can it be reversed, and passages to other places be constructed in reverse from the inner space? Lin Shi struggled out of Su Xia's arms. Staying in his arms any longer was going to be too much to grasp. It should be possible, but I haven't tried it. Then I'll try. In the hall, there was a sound of giggling and giggling electricity. The screen, which was in the middle of the hall, began to flash continuously. The sudden appearance of the dry well on the screen really scared Yelatolov, who was disposing of the body. Frightened, he dropped Belek's body as soon as he could and hid behind Sin. Shu-sin looked at the words that kept flashing in the screen and was equally startled. It hasn't encountered this either. A man and a guile hid in a corner, shivering. Next moment, a figure emerged. Instantly, it burrowed out of the screen. With two screams, the broadcast went to a black screen. Wow, what's that? My god, what the hell is this dry well? Didn't they say that this hotel can suppress all the weird rules of murder? What the hell is going on here? Hey, no, why does that look like Sadako's well? Mamma mia, I don't think Sadako is coming out. The audience that was discussing what rewards will be given for this copy. All were startled by the sudden movement. They couldn't imagine what horrors had come to the hotel. It was actually possible to ignore the suppression of the spectral hotel and use bizarre abilities with abandon. Hey, wake up, Torov. Sue rushed to check on the unconscious Yelatarov. He didn't mean to scare Torov, but he was a bit unskilled in using this ability for the first time. Relieved to find that Torov had only fainted. Si Yao-tsing, on the other hand, was lying on the ground, covering her ears tightly. Can't see me. Sue lifted Xiao Qian from the ground with one hand. Shu-sin, it's me. Sin grinned widely and stammered a little. Su Hua, you, what? I'll explain it to you when I get back next time. Attention all players, the replica will be settled soon. Sue quickly rushed towards the big screen and hollered. Lindsay, come out. There's almost no time. The first time a contract is completed, the player must return to reality with the contract shenanigans along with them. Otherwise subsequent to that, numerous problems may arise. Coming. All you can hear is the sound, not the trick. A red wedding dress flew out of a dry well. In an instant, the illusory Lin Shi landed on Sue's shoulder. Congratulations to the player who has completed the SS level replica Dark Hotel. Kill creepy *3. Unlocked identity *3. Completion of tasks *1. Completion of final reward mission *1. Player rating, SS+. In light of the fact that players will be rewarded for over-leveling the mission, they will be rewarded for storming the mission. Physical strength enhancement *100. Spirit boost *200. Personal evaluation upgraded to SS grade. Receive creepy coin *100. Acquired ability, unlimited strengthening. Rule of awakening, the disorderly. Note, the disorderly can ignore the bizarre rules for killing people of the same level as well as below their own level. I'm Chow, the disorganized. Seeing this introduction, Sue was shocked, ignoring the weird killing rules. A proper god skill. Later in the day, into other copies. He puts on a weapon, and he makes a killing. No more need to worry about all sorts of weird rules about killing people. Next moment, the scene before Sue's eyes changed abruptly, teleported back to the place where he originally traded with the bearded man. Sue, you're finally back. A bearded, anxious voice came to his ears. As soon as he turned his head, Sue saw the bearded man as well as a large number of soldiers with loaded guns. What happened? Before he could ask in detail, another familiar voice came from the crowd. Boss, you're finally back. I've missed you so much, only to see that a young Taoist priest hard pushed his way out of the crowd. Boss, now we're in big trouble. Chapter 23. Wanted at the lighthouse, globally famous. What happened? Sue frowned and asked what had happened. He was gone for 48 hours. Did something big happen in the meantime? Sue, you're wanted in the lighthouse state. Boss, lighthouse wants to get you. The bearded man and the little Taoist priest spoke at the same time. What's a lighthouse? Lindsay hugged Suyuki tightly. Despite the vapors turned on, these humans couldn't see it. But being naturally socially fearful, it was still scared to see so many people. If we hadn't found the medium, it would have gone back to hiding in the dry well. ***, who's talking? The little Taoist shuddered. TM is haunted. Frightened, he pulled a pair of gossip glasses from his pocket. After seeing Lin Shi, who was hugging Su Xiaoyu tightly, his white eyes rolled over, his legs stumped, and he fainted. Lin Shi couldn't help but tremble as she hugged Su Xiaoyu. The fact that it was even seen by a human in its vaporized state caused fear to rise in its heart. No need to be afraid, Su whispered softly in a comforting voice. In the next moment, his hand went straight through Lin Shi's waist. Bouquet turned out to work like this. The prompt appeared as early as when Lin Shi used voiding. However, he didn't have time to check its details. The bearded man couldn't understand the Mandarin and looked at Su with his hands full. Su, what's wrong with him? It's okay, Beard. Get us a room. Okay, come with me. The bearded man had already made the arrangements and immediately led Su to the secret hiding place. As he passed by the little Taoist priest, Su smoothly lifted him up. That light movement, which gave the others the impression, as if it were not a human being that was being lifted. Instead, it's a plastic bag in general. When the bearded man saw this, his face couldn't help but tremble. No wonder the lighthouse went crazy and wanted to capture Sue at the expense of war. I'm afraid the entire lighthouse won't be able to sleep well if we let Sue grow up. All he wanted now was to quickly send Sue away safely, so as not to get involved in this big storm. Inside the room, Sue couldn't help but inquire, "Beard, what the hell happened?" The bearded man sighed and handed a document to Sue. The lighthouse went crazy. At this point, a soldier came in from outside and whispered something in the bearded man's ear. "Sue, I'm going to a war conference now. Don't worry, I've assigned someone to protect this place. When I'm done with my meeting, I'll find a way to send you back to Dragonland." Sue looked over the documents and couldn't help but sneer. Lindsay took a quiet look. The content of this made its mind reel. Warmongers, terrorists, the most terrifying criminals of the 21st century. A dozen titles in all. None of it was good anyway. The lighthouse media portrayed Sue as a criminal of 10 evils. Lindsay carefully nudged Suyasha. "Sue, did you really do this?" Exasperated, Sue retorted. "Slander, slander, that's a complete slur on me. The most outrageous thing is that they blame him for the death of Bellic. Even the populace of a state that was obliterated by a copy was counted against him. Bellic's death was somewhat related to him, but it doesn't matter much. The spooky copies themselves are 9 deaths. The fact that Bellic died in it only means that it was too much of a vegetable. But what does a dead population matter to him? Obviously the lighthouse is having problems handling the spooky copies, evacuating people to other states at the first sign of copyfall. It's entirely possible to avoid such a large number of casualties, but the local powers that be, the first to run, causing a state to fall into disarray and ultimately leading to this result. What should we do? It says here that you will be taken back for trial? Lin Shi's face was filled with a depressed color as he said. However, a strange thought arose in its mind. It would seem like a beautiful thing to stay at the bottom of the well all the time with Sue. Judge me, are they worthy? Sue snorted coldly. He wasn't afraid before entering the copy. Now that he had returned from the bizarre copy, how could he be afraid? Come on, don't play dead. After receiving 2 kicks from Sue, the little Taoist then greatly climbed up from the ground. The little Taoist priest's Taoist name, Empty Mirror, now working under Mr. Sue. Aside from cutting-edge weapons, orders for mid to high-end weapons are essentially handled by Air Mirror. Empty Mirror closed his eyes and pointed at Lindsay. "Boss, that comment managed to get another kick in the pants. What do you mean that's? Call your sister-in-law." "Oops, what are you doing?" Lindsay shyly punched Suyuki. "Hello sister-in-law." Still, it lifted its deflowering, as if the sister-in-law was very well received. "Geez, don't yell like that." Present in the moment, the weirdness was rampant. Just standing there, the little Taoist felt like he was being stared at by a flood of beasts. "Don't you listen to your brother? Nothing happened between us." That tone full of petulance was so close to uttering 2 more shouts. The little Taoist hardened his head and quipped, "Sister-in-law, your natural beauty, like a heavenly fairy-like face, is more than enough to match my brother. Come on, don't tease him." Su Shaoi gently patted Lin Shi's butt. "Oops, there's someone else." Lindsay's face brushed red. "Tighten your aura. Ordinary people can't stand it." "Shasta." The little Taoist sat down on the floor as if he was relieved. Looking at the one man and one guile in front of him, he couldn't help but spit in his mind. "Not the boss. What did you do? How do you tone down such horrible weirdness?" However, he was relieved at the same time. With such powerful and eerie protection, if we can just get out of here safely. Even as strong as the lighthouse couldn't help Sue. "Boss, you are unaware that the lighthouse can't wait to take you to the research lab right now to slice you up and study you." The lighthouse would never have gotten that idea if Sue was within the Dragon Kingdom, but it was just that he wasn't there right now. So then the lighthouse got the idea. Even if Dragon Nation, even if it shuts down the live stream, follows up by shutting down the internal live stream as well. But the lighthouse is still on the air from Yelatarov as well as from Bellic. Numerous clues were found. If Su Yuyo was allowed to develop, he would become the most terrifying existence in the Dragon Kingdom. "Boss, do you know, how much is your bounty now?" This question aroused Su's curiosity. "How much?" $10 billion US, and regardless of life or death. SS. Su took a breath of cold air. It seems that this lighthouse really sees itself as a thorn in its side. I can't imagine that these guys are so willing to shed their blood. The young Taoist shook his head. "Boss, that's just where it's at. They've also deployed 5 major carrier fleets. Figured this would be close. Not Tico. What a grudge. What a grudge. You'd be willing to go to such lengths to deal with me?" However, Su didn't care and nodded calmly. "Empty mirror? No boss. What's your reaction? Shouldn't you be afraid? That's 5 carrier fleets. At least give him some face. And how else am I supposed to behave when you're like this?" Chapter 24. Toughing the lighthouse. The world's attention. "Boss, this doesn't scare you? What's there to be afraid of? Isn't it just the 5 fleets?" Su pulled out his cell phone to browse the recent hotspots. As expected, the world's headlines are all about him. Lindsay, do you see my brother hanging? Lindsay looked at her cell phone and then at Sue. Pull it out? Empty mirror? He really wanted to yell. Hello, too. I'm still here. Nay. The pressure Lindsay had put on him before was too much. I was afraid that if I said the wrong thing, I would be pinched by my sister-in-law. Empty mirror took a deep breath before righting his dowager's crown. Boss, they brought nuclear warheads. They're really running to screw you this time. Having said that, in his mind's eye, he fantasized about Suyao seeking his help in his state of panic. Then why don't you kids run away and giggle here? Empty mirror was dumbfounded. I didn't expect that after all the talk. Mr. Sue remained unmoved. He knew how powerful Lin Shi was, but he didn't believe that Lin Shi could protect Sue under a nuclear bombing. After he couldn't hold it in anymore, he grabbed Sue and told him all his plans. Boss, come with me. We'll get on the nuclear submarine first. The fleet is on its way. As long as our rendezvous is successful, 5 carrier fleets won't be able to keep you. You know, the lighthouse now sees Sue as the supreme threat, even going so far as to nuke something to get him. You can imagine how much they scare. Sue stared when he heard this. I didn't realize the family was so attached to him as well. Not only were submarines sent out early, but after the lighthouse sent out its fleet, the standby fleet was sent out at the first opportunity. Who is this transfer? Empty mirror smiled sarcastically. Boss, you were selected for a copy then. So I asked my master's uncle for information. I didn't realize he'd made it to the task force, and it seems to speak for itself in there. It so happens that this submarine is on a mission on the high seas not far away. They came at the first opportunity. Su Yuyao pinched the empty mirror with one hand. Good boy. Feeling like you're playing no holds barred with me? Empty mirror ate the pain and hurriedly begged for mercy. Boss, no. I didn't know until you entered the copy and asked for help. I knew right off the bat that my uncle had gotten through the SS copy, but I didn't know he ran away to serve on the task force. All right. Sue spread out the empty mirror and inquired with a serious face. Is there a way out? Empty mirror's heart rejoiced. Yes, we'll take a submarine around and get back in 3 days tops. That's good. Sue got up and stretched, handing his cell phone to Air Mirror. You go back first. I'll go back after I finish this side of things. Huh? Empty mirror was completely dumbfounded. I had thought that Sue was planning to leave with him. I didn't expect Sue to fight the lighthouse alone. Next moment, the cell phone screen flashed, and Sue and Lin Shi disappeared into thin air. The empty mirror was left alone, standing dumbfounded. One man shakes a nation. Is this really humanly possible? After a brief moment of disorientation, empty mirror contacted his senior uncle, Taoist Spirit Void, reported all conversations, word for word. Armed with this information, the task force quickly began to analyze it. The whole group also started a heated discussion. One part thought the fleet should be pulled back. A part of the people who thought that they could not withdraw. Not only could they not withdraw, but they had to build up the momentum for Sue, especially the whole time witnessing everything that happened in the SOS and the copy. Trade with creepy and easily tame the S-class female creepy. They learned just how terrifying an existence Sue was. The ability to produce weapons that can deal with shenanigans in a particular way. And these weapons, it seems, are becoming more and more powerful. From the first Sandhawks and grenades, to the later AKs and C4S. These weapons whose origin could not be determined were just like the weapons that Sue sold in reality. All that is known is that he sold it, but there is no way to find out exactly where it came from. If we can reach a partnership with Sue, we will have a weapon for each hand. Then in the future, the Dragon players, the chances of surviving the bizarre copies will be greatly increased. Hearing a group of members arguing vehemently, Taoist Spirit Void stretched his back. Pick up the air mirror and bring it back, plus have the fleet go around to them. Obviously Sue doesn't need us to do anything, but we have to bring out the attitude. Lighthouse. Huadu. Inside a private estate. Sue, is this your house? Lin Shi looked at the big beautiful manor and her eyes were filled with little stars. It was a wonderful sight it had never seen before. In the weird world, it's just a temporary landing place. When Sue had just started his arms business, he had expected the situation today. So all over the world, landing sites have been set up. What's next? Lin Shi couldn't help but feel worried inwardly when she remembered Su Ying's current situation. Not sure what a lighthouse actually is though. From the information it received, it guessed that Sue was facing a behemoth. Don't worry, I have a solution. Go ahead and get some rest. Sue smiled and pinched Lin Shi's little face. I don't want it. Lindsay hugged Sue, but this human led it to escape its cage. In this situation now, how could it be sure to leave Su Ying to face the crisis alone? It also wanted to help Su Yuyao out a bit, and with a turn of its little head, it said, why don't I go and get them all killed? This answer really made Su Xiaoyi seriously consider it. However, he eventually gave up on the idea. If it's a kid, so be it. But the lighthouse is different. As a superpower, its stockpile of weapons is too scary. Once it comes to the situation of fish death, he can leave, but the rest of the Dragon Kingdom can't. In the end, it is only the ordinary people who suffer. Not for now, just scare them first. Speaking of which, Sue opened his computer and entered the black market's unique website. After paying a heavy amount of money to find a hacker he knew well and have him hack into Pentagon's network system, the Gateway World, with the medium's detailed information, is able to implement a reverse invasion. In the time it took for the hacker to decipher, Sue didn't stay idle, recording a video and posting it on the internet. The video went viral very quickly. In just 10 minutes or so, the word had spread. Video. Sue accuses the lighthouse of making accusations against him that are completely unfounded and slanderous. He sells arms at low prices to oppressed areas for purely humanitarian reasons. Not, as in the case of the lighthouse, for plunder. If the lighthouse continues its unwarranted smear campaign against him, he will launch a personal counterattack. This video, it quickly festered on the internet and caused a lot of buzz among people around the world. *** fire. This is too brave. This is going to be hard on the lighthouse. I don't know. How's Fire doing now? I heard that the Big Five fleet is approaching the Gulf of Aden. Baka. It's just a clown dying to make a living. Even if he survives the SS rank copy, and it's impossible to fight the lighthouse. Yoo-hoo. Fluke. Why didn't that little kid of yours pass? Chapter 25. Brand new state. Morning clothes female guile. Lighthouse. The executives are furious. As a war machine that has survived for a long time, it has never regarded any country or power as an enemy, but as strong as it was actually threatened by Su Yuyo alone today. The most odious thing is that, surprisingly, many of the little ones it had cleaned up had come forward to respond to Su. The lighthouse was quickly up and running. In just a few minutes, he found out where Su was hiding. Within 10 minutes, heavily armed troops surrounded the entire estate, and, with great speed, they moved the nearby rich manor. The neighborhood was inhabited by the powerful people of the lighthouse. If Su went crazy, it was possible that everyone in the neighborhood would be buried with him. They are bad, but not stupid. Su's performance in the replica terrified them, so much so that it was intended that, at the cost of a fleet of 5 carriers, completely obliterate this Dragon Country player who made them feel fear. But what they didn't expect was this. Su, who was supposed to be in the bearded man's territory, appeared out of nowhere in Huadu's private estate. This is a completely passive situation that has unsettled the lighthouse hierarchy, especially, at this stage now. What kind of strength Su was, they're not clear. They don't know. Eventually, Lighthouse began a worldwide recruitment spree for high-level players. Using money, beauty and even power and status as bargaining chips, he really enlisted a few of them. Outside the manor, a reporter looked nervous as he interviewed the chief lighthouse creepy copy in front of him. Professor Falk, according to your projections, what is the situation? Sissy Falk, graying at the temples, pushed up his gold-rimmed glasses and flipped through the list in his hands. Did not strike up a conversation. Instead, it was the one-eyed old MO behind him who grunted coldly. But getting through a copy without a kill rule by small means is not enough to fear. That hairy guy was only promoted to a rank after his copy was finished. A newcomer like Su, the limit is raised to S. The reporter, faced with this attitude of the one-eyed old ink, was displeased, but did not refute it. One-eyed old ink is one of the few SS-ranked players at the lighthouse and has mastered a ghostly. It does have the credentials to say such things. Mr. Nay, then are you confident that you can take down Son? One-eyed old MO snorted coldly and did not answer the question. Obviously, it didn't dare to face Su alone. Turning to the reporter, he explained the composition of the siege team. In addition to it, there are 6 other S-ranked players in the squad this time, and players recruited from all over the world are on their way. A conservative estimate of the squads involved in this siege, at least 1 SS-ranked player and 20 S-ranked players. With such a luxurious camp, not to mention Su, even if it was an SS-level copy, they were confident. The scene was broadcast live to all corners of the globe. Fire, what the hell were you thinking? How did you get under people's noses? It's over. It's over. It's over. There's no one in our family over there to protect Brother Fire. Fire, why don't you wait at the bearded man's place? Our fleet is almost there. Brother Fire, hurry up and go. When the hired players come, it'll be even more impossible to retreat. The hearts of the Dragon Nation audience went cold. This TM20-person team was at least an S-rank player. How's this for a fight? Headbutt? If they were closer, someone could still go and help. This is now 1,000 miles apart. It was even more so in someone else's territory. And even if they wanted to give a helping hand, it was too late. The anointed ones who were already harboring hatred towards Su Shayan opened their mouths to taunt. Yossi, it looks like this zone has come to the end of the line. I can't imagine that this Dragon Nation So arrogant that he ran to Toppa's hometown. That's the end of it. There was even an S-ranked player named Junichiro Oda who openly started a live stream. I hope this Rokoku guy lasts a little longer. And I'd like to trade his head for a big booby on the west coast. Dragon Kingdom higher-ups. The first response was made. On the one hand, he ordered the players lurking in the lighthouse to support Su. On the other hand, through intelligence, begin a targeted interdiction to hire players to travel to the lighthouse to participate in a siege mission. Inside the manor. Su, there are a lot of people coming outside. She had a strange feeling in her heart as she looked at the stupid crowd outside the window. Once upon a time, it was a good hand at spooky replicas. There are countless shenanigans that have died under its hand. Before the family broke down, even SS-ranked shenanigans didn't dare to mess with it easily. Unfortunately later, in a fight, the family loses and is subsequently torn apart. Since embarking on its escape, it has slowly begun to change, become timid and cautious, become fearful. When faced with other shenanigans, its first thought was not to finish it off, but to think of escape, especially after sensing the evil thoughts, resentment as well as killing intent that these humans had towards Su. It felt like it was on the verge of being unable to suppress the killing intent within it. I saw it. A couple of them seemed to be coming at us specifically. Speaking here, Shi's voice became hoarse. Finish them all. Sensing the killing intent surging around him as well as the furious Guichi, Su twisted his head to take a look. Nesting grass. Schizophrenic? Only to see that Shi's eyes turned scarlet. The red wedding transformed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Not for a moment. The wedding garment became a mourning garment. Image referenced above. Creepy, Lindsay. Race, unknown. Abilities, soul harvesting. Field of the dead. Grade, SS. Su grinned and took out the flesh and blood AK. In that case, let's do it. Su gave them a chance, but they didn't appreciate it. Kill all these guys and the trouble will naturally go away. The so-called infamy will be cleared for him later. In the manor, inexplicable outbursts of bizarre aura. It caused everyone to feel palpitations. A few players, in particular, felt even more so. Next moment, a figure slowly walked out from the manor. Behind it also floated a white-clad female guile. One-eyed old Mo's heart trembled after seeing the white-clothed female trickster. Finish spicy, it comes out all three. Sell your brothers, sell your teammates, and run fast. Relying on these three things, it had become an SS-class powerhouse step by step. If the camera hadn't disliked its face and was filming it, it would have scampered off. But it knows that this run will have no place at the lighthouse again. Professor Fox's face twitched as he looked at the white-clothed female trickster floating behind Su. Everything counts, even counting on Su being at SS level of strength. But it didn't count on the fact that Su Yuyao really dared to go for the contract of shenanigans and succeeded. Send it! Send it! Professor Fox roared in alarm and ordered fire. And then, taking advantage of the confusion, he retreated behind the crowd. Chapter 26-26. Reverse Pursuit. Kill to stop kill. Boo. A gunshot. Within moments, Su was covered in artillery fire. Live stream. The audience was confused. They didn't expect Su to actually succeed in contracting creepy. What's more, I didn't expect the lighthouse to attack without any warning, without any forewarning. There have been attempts to use heat weapons against the spooky, which ultimately ended in failure. This time, the lighthouse used heavy firearms against the SOS, and I wonder how effective it was. I can't believe fire, but he managed to contract creepy, and it doesn't look like it's a low level. This is a real kick in the pants for the lighthouse. There is simply no way that any human can resist this kind of intense firepower. Whoa, creepy can ignore hot weapons. Can fire do it? Didn't we say we'd wait for the other players to arrive and then do it together? It seems that even if a player is strong, he can't compete with a hot weapon. Whether or not players can fight against hot weapons has generated a lot of discussion among viewers. This has simultaneously attracted the attention of many countries and powers. If players were able to harden themselves against thermal weapons, the world landscape would change drastically. The artillery fire covered the area for several minutes. Everyone involved in the siege stared intently at the smoke that filled the air. When the smoke clears, the whole estate was a mess. Only the white-clothed female guile was left slowly approaching the crowd. As for Su had long since disappeared. The crowd was shocked. I don't know what to do. Journalists are not soldiers or players. He's just a regular guy who took on this interview assignment at a high rate of pay. But I didn't expect to meet such a horrible female trickster. F.A. Professor Falk, what do we do? Professor Falk frowned. The situation seems a little bad. Judging from the results, the artillery attack was completely useless against Su. And Su was in control of some kind of unknown transient ability. It's a good thing that he had deployed well in advance, using an extremely valuable and bizarre prop that sealed off a 10-kilometer radius. Whether it's a player, creepy aka normal, within 24 hours, the All can only go in and out. All we have to do now is to get rid of this female guile, and then just slowly search for Sue. Don't worry. I used a weird prop to seal off this area. That guy can't escape. Old Mo, do it. Get rid of the female guile and then search for Sue. One-eyed old Mo's heart sank. It didn't expect Professor Falk to be so ruthless. It's cutting it off from its last thoughts. Either they combine their efforts to do away with the horrible creep, or they all get killed. Together. One-eyed old Ink was the first to rush out. The remaining 6 S-ranked players followed closely and rushed out. But the next moment, a voice suddenly rang out on the live feed. Yo, it's still live. Professor Falk's mind reeled as he turned his head to look. Sue didn't know when, but stood behind him. The soldiers around it all fell to the ground dead or alive. And it all happened in an instant. He becomes the overall head of the lighthouse's spooky replica, not by force, but by brains. The first time a countermeasure was thought up in his head. The other players, now, have gone to surround the female guile. His own strength was only AB+, and he had no chance at all against Sue. Mr. Sue, this is all a misunderstanding. I think we can have a good talk. Sue grinned. Talk? That's certainly fine. Professor Falk's heart was glad. Young people are really young people. As long as he is stabilized now, wait for old Mo and the others to finish off the white female guile. When the time comes, it's still his call. It's best to capture Sue alive. As the first player to have contracted a creepy, he would be very valuable to study. Mr. Sue, I think this incident is a complete misunderstanding. Sue waved his hand and lifted Falk up as soon as he could. There's no need to say that much. Before dragging him to the front of the camera, Sue smiled. Come and say hello to the live audience. Professor Falk's mind was furious. As the head of the Lighthouse Nation's bizarre copies, he held supreme power. No one has ever dared to treat him like that. But now this maniac in front of him was doing this to him. Hello audience. What are your plans? Professor Falk forced a smile. We came to talk to Mr. Sue with sincerity. Hearing these words, Sue Xiaoyi smiled. Never mind. I'm too lazy to talk and listen. Relax. Dizziness is normal. Prof. Falk? He didn't understand what Sue Zhou meant by that. With a black eye, Farker's head lolled to the end of his life. Reporters and photographers saw the scene, completely freaked out. Professor Falk was crushed to death by Sue before their eyes. The reporters' already fragile psychological defenses were completely shattered at this moment. Screaming, he fled toward the soldiers coming to support him, but he was greeted by a blackened muzzle that burst into flame. These soldiers were even willing to kill their own people in order to kill Sue. Not only journalists, but photographers also died in this dense rain of bullets. The whole world blew up. Someone pinched Falk in front of the whole world. This situation took everyone by surprise. Gunshots, screams, touching the hearts of every viewer on the air. A few moments later, the sounds of gunfire and screams all around them disappeared. The camera on the floor was also picked up and reset up. Sorry about that, guys just took care of something. See only. Live feed. Sue wiped the blood from his hands and greeted the live viewers. The result? Obviously. So the soldiers are cool. It is well known that I am a peace-loving and friendly person. But the banditry of the Lighthouse Party is just too much. I was forced to launch a counterattack. As he spoke, Sue moved the camera. On the screen, several players were surrounding Lin Shi. You see, several of their strong men are surrounding a weak woman. If they didn't know that Lindsay was being creepy, the audience really bought into the bull ********. The Dragon Nation viewers, moreover, were spitting on the live broadcast. Fire, why don't you go up and help? What are you sitting back there for? You big old man, why don't you get on? I despise you. Fire, for letting someone else's weak girl get on. But the next image startled everyone. The seemingly weak Lin Shi, where the funeral stick crossed. No one could stop it. A player is accidentally hit in the head with a funeral stick and his soul is drawn out of his body. Another bat, the illusory soul, ruptured and dissipated. But 2 or 3 seconds to kill an S-ranked player, and without utilizing the rules of killing. This female creep is horrible. No wonder Sue didn't go up to help. So it turned out that he couldn't be used. During this time, Sue was not idle. He retrieved a document from Falk's body. The document is exactly the plan for this roundup, and the list of members includes details of over a dozen players employed from around the world. It also has detailed flight information, as well as player ratings. Seeing the list this time, Sue was happy. There's nothing to do now, so it's a good time to take care of these guys. From now on I'm going to start liquidating according to this list. Chapter 27. Reinventing the rules. Establishing the association. Liquidation by list. The world was in an uproar at the news. Everyone didn't realize that not only was Sue planning to make a move on the lighthouse, you also have to get rid of all the players recruited by the lighthouse. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. You can't kill all the players on the list even if you're that powerful. What a big mouth. Who do you think you are? Think about how to get out of the siege zone first. The list includes people from all over the world. Once they landed and got the news, they would certainly be the first to choose to run. When the time comes, where to find them? Let's start with this garbage. Then, that statement managed to draw all the fire. In just an instant, the one-eyed old MO gave up on surrounding Lin Shi and turned towards Sue. You guys trap her. I'm going to kill that guy. The remaining three were confused. Let's go trap her. Are you kidding me? Dude, do you know how creepy that girl is? You're not treating us like human beings. With just a few swings of the funeral stick in his hand, half of the 6 men were broken. It was clear to several people that the female trickster was simply teasing them. Even after using many weird props, he couldn't carry the ordinary attacks of others. If you really pissed off the female guile, no one in the room would be able to escape. Without the slightest hesitation, the 3 of them ran towards Sue. One of these 3 ran faster than the other. One of them even used a prop. Fear of being left at the end of the line. Obviously, all 3 were thinking the same thing. As long as you run faster than your teammates, you have a better chance of surviving. Capture the soothsayer and use it to coerce the female trickster in order to have a chance of survival. One-eyed old Mo looked at Sue, who was aiming a sniper rifle at him, and snorted coldly in his heart. As an SS-ranked player, this kind of ordinary weapon was simply useless to him. Boo! Gunshots were fired. A death threat instantly enveloped him. One-eyed old Ink resisted a hard shot and fell to the ground. Alive or dead? That fierce? Su Shayan looked at old Mo with slight surprise. He didn't expect this guy, with such a hard head, to resist a shot of AWM, and his head didn't blow up. Keep in mind that this flesh and blood AWM is a whopping 100 creepy coins around. With 10 rounds, it's worth a bloody C4. If he didn't want to try out the power of this sniper rifle, Sue really wouldn't have given it up. The 3 saw this scene. A hard stop. If old Mo couldn't carry it, it was even more unlikely that they could. There's a wolf in front of you and a tiger behind you. The 3 were caught in a dilemma. Boo! Then with the sound of a gunshot, the head of an S-rank player exploded into a cloud of blood. Obviously, Sue didn't give them a chance to choose. The 2 remaining players turned around and ran. Unfortunately, it was Lindsay who greeted them. The mulberry stick slashed through, and these 2 people's souls were instantly drawn out of their bodies. The soul was instantly shattered and absorbed by Lin Shi. The scene, silencing the lighthouse executives squatting on the air. Just a few minutes, the siege team was nearly wiped out. Soldiers and commanders are all dead, and all S-class players have been wiped out. Only one-eyed old Mo was left lying on the ground, alive or dead. There are still several SS-ranked players, though, as well as a large number of S-ranked players, but it was impossible for them to send all their forces to surround Sue. Together with the pressure exerted by the dragon countryside, makes for a lot of disagreement within the lighthouse on how to treat Su. Sue put away his big sniper and happily walked towards Lin Shi. After approaching the one-eyed old Ink, the mutation bumped up. Old Mo, who had fallen to the ground, got up violently and pounced on Sue. It was so fast that even the audience in the broadcast room didn't see it. He sensed the crisis of death the moment Sue shot. So in the first instance, the life-saving props were used. But in order to confuse Sue, he chose to play dead and bide his time. One-eyed old Ink recognized reality from the start. Indentured the bizarre Sue. It simply wasn't something he or they could fight against. That's why he pressed on with the intention of killing Sue, only intending to capture him, and in turn, gain the leverage to be able to live. But it seemed that Sue had expected this. The moment he got up, he smiled. Why don't you play dead? A tremor ran through one-eyed old Mo's heart. If he didn't use his bottom card again, he was going to be accounted for here. With everyone watching, the one-eyed old Ink stopped in the air strangely. Time seemed to stand still. Next moment, the one-eyed old Ink landed on the ground, and his torso began to petrify at a speed visible to the naked eye. When the petrification is complete, the one-eyed old Ink turned out to be a statue of a woman with wings and dressed in ancient Greek clothing. Curious, Lin Shi poked the one-eyed old Ink with his funeral stick. Isn't that the weeping angels? What's going on here? Lighthouse executives took the opportunity to hold a briefing, suggesting the formation of a joint siege squad. Few responded. Those who strike kill, those who participate kill, and those who order kill. 14. All are S-rank players. Sue doesn't know exactly what promises the lighthouse has made to them. To have them willingly come here to die. Or maybe they didn't even think of Sue as a dish. Judging from the results, the artillery attack was completely useless against Sue. And Sue was in control of some kind of unknown transient ability. It's a good thing that he had deployed well in advance, using an extremely valuable and bizarre prop that sealed off a 10-kilometer radius. Whether it's a player, creepy aka normal, within 24 hours, all can only go in and out. All we have to do now is to get rid of this female guile, and then just slowly search for Sue. Don't worry, I used a weird prop to seal off this area. That guy can't escape. Old Mo, do it. Get rid of the female dial and then search for Sue. One-eyed old Mo's heart sank. He hadn't expected Professor Falk to be so ruthless. It was the last thing that cut him off. Either they combined their efforts to do away with the horrible creep, or they were all killed together. One-eyed old Ink was the first to rush out. The remaining 6 S-ranked players followed closely and rushed out. But the next moment, a voice suddenly rang out on the live feed. Yo, it's still live. Professor Falk's mind reeled as he turned his head to look. At some point, Sue stood behind him. The soldiers around it all fell to the ground dead or alive. And it all happened in an instant. He becomes the overall head of the lighthouse's spooky replica, not by force, but by brains. The first time a countermeasure was thought up in his head. The other players, now, have gone to surround the female dial. His own strength was only AB+, and he had no chance at all against Sue. Mr. Sue, this is all a misunderstanding. I think we can have a good talk. Sue grinned. Talk? That's certainly fine. Professor Falk's heart was glad. Young people are really young people. As long as he is stabilized now, wait for old Mo and the others to finish off the white female dial. When the time comes, it's still his call. It's best to capture Sue alive. As the first player to have contracted a creepy, he would be very valuable to study. Mr. Sue, I think this incident is a complete misunderstanding. Sue waved his hand and lifted Falk up as soon as he could. Chapter 28. Shift in focus. Weird worlds. Late night. Agritourism somewhere in the country. Boss, what the hell did you do? Empty Mirror inquired while cautiously peering into the house. It seemed to be afraid that Linshi, who was watching TV, would rush out and give him a soul whip the next moment. Mr. Sue reclined on a wooden recliner, shaking a bushel fan. Just went to their command room and reasoned with them. That's it? Empty Mirror obviously didn't believe Sue's words. Sue smiled and nodded. That's for sure. They still have reasonable people. Empty Mirror stared tightly at Sue Yuyo and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. That unreasonable? Anon, there's 2 non-speaking to the end of the nest pinched to death. SS. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. Empty Mirror sucked in a breath of cold air. He didn't expect the boss to be so fierce and quietly do such a great thing. No wonder the lighthouse was dead set against dialogue before, but now it's actively seeking a dialogue with the Dragon Kingdom. Turns out the ultimate reason is here. But Sue's next sentence made him completely tense up. You know, when I can be reasonable, I'll never make a move. After disposing of those recruiting players, it just so happened that the hackers had breached the firewall. So, Sue made a side trip to the Pentagon, ready to talk some sense into them. Originally, they were unwilling to be reasonable. 2 of the most bouncy ones were instantly honest when they were pinched. Boss, awesome. Empty Mirror gave a thumbs up and spat in his mind. You are clearly able to do it without BB. Back in the day, there was a small warlord in the Black State who wanted a free meal. As a result, it was chiseled through by Sue himself with his men. Boss, can I tell Uncle Sherfu about this? Could be. There's no need to hide this kind of information. Secondly, this news can be used to take the initiative in the Dragon Kingdom during the next cut. After hesitating for a while, Empty Mirror inquired to Suing. Boss, are you really not going to talk to my senior uncle? Eldest, you'll be my agent from now on. Just show up for anything? Before the air mirror arrived, Sue made his plans to shift the focus towards the thriller game. The weirdness is his most important client. As for the air mirror, it acts as an agent, handling many things in the real world. Me? Air mirror asked rhetorically, pointing to his nose. Sue got up and smiled, patting the Empty Mirror on the shoulder. Well, in the future, if there's anything you're sure of, you make the decision. If there's anything you can't pinpoint, just call me again. Empty Mirror was well aware of Sue's nature. Decisions are made and not easily changed. Okay, boss. By the way, are we still in business? We've sold out our inventory in the Middle East and the Black States. If we don't replenish our supply, we won't be able to ship. Sue wanted to give up all the business, but after considering it, he said, second, you send orders and customers to the top in your personal name. It's also convenient that you'll be talking up there later. As the king of underground arms, the customer resources in his hands are terrifying. It's a shame to give it all up. Empty Mirror's eyes widened steeply. What grass? Boss, you're crazy. This is not going to work. The top has tacitly authorized us to do arms business. If you don't do it, you might as well give it away and save up some favors for you. Empty Mirror was moved to tears on the spot. Boss, I'm going to hang out with you for the rest of my life. Asterisk 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 off. Don't be disgusting here. Okay, boss, I'll roll then and leave you and your sister-in-law alone. Empty Mirror took 2 steps and suddenly turned back, pointing to the motionless stone statue on the floor. He inquired, Boss, do you want this one or not? If not, I'll just pick up the category. What do you need this for? This was none other than the stone statue that one-eyed old ink had transformed into. It wouldn't move now though. Even if he turned his head, the guy wouldn't instantly move behind him. So much so that Lindsay threw him straight to the side. Lindsay, do you still want this crap? What is it? Do you still want that broken stone statue? No more. Obviously. Right now. Lindsay's interest in dramas far exceeded that of stone statues. Good Lou's sister-in-law. Then I pick up to go class. Empty Mirror nimbly bound the stone statue with a rope and carried it over his shoulder. Let's go, boss. He. Played to death by the boss's contract shenanigans. Might as well take it back and let Uncle Shifu slice it up and study it. After the Empty Mirror left, Mr. Su shook his bushel fan and returned to his room. What are you looking at? SpongeBob. Good. Su looked at Lin Shi and smiled. Who would have thought that the evil creep, who was horrible to outsiders, would enjoy watching cartoons? After carrying Lin Shi into his arms, he began to calculate his next plan. With that in mind, he opened the panel and found the pass. Hotel Spectre Permanent Pass, current cooldown 36 hours, after cooldown expires, players can use this pass to travel to the Spectre Hotel. Ugh, there's still 36 hours to go before I can get back to the hotel. Lin Shi frowned, backhandedly hugged Su Xiaoyan's neck and pouted her lips as she asked, why go back to that hellhole? Even after only a few hours, it fell in love with the human world. Here, there was no one who could fight it, nor was there the threat of SS rank peak shenanigans. Best of all, there's TV to watch and lots of good food. Instead of answering, Su asked in return, just got here and you like it here? Hearing this, Lin Shi hugged Sujo tightly. That's for sure. There's you here and a nice anime to watch. Where is this going? Su smiled and picked up Lin Shi and walked towards the bedroom. Su, what are you doing? Take you for a fun ride. The moment. The Shadow Hotel. Inside the office, the boss delicately played with the bloody sandhawk in his hand. Headless, are you sure this weapon was sold to a customer by Su? Yes, boss. The head of security carefully analyzed the whole process after dealing with the yin and yang shenanigans. After reviewing the surveillance and realizing that Su was peddling weapons to his clients. The first time I spent a lot of money to buy back the flesh and blood sandhawk. After testing, it was discovered that this bizarre flesh and blood sandhawk could actually deal damage to S-rank shenanigans. On the boss's initial return, the head of security then tried to report the incident to it. Unfortunately, at the time, the owner's entire focus was on blooding C4, and the subsequent trades that were made. This has kept it from having a chance to report. Which struck down the yin-yang dial was the more powerful flesh and blood AK. But, Mr. Su did not sell this weapon to other customers, so I did not get my hands on it. Okay, I get it. You go back. After the head of security left, the black robe on the boss fluttered up. It had originally thought that Su only had flesh and blood C4 as a powerful weapon, but I didn't realize that this was only one of them. The flesh and blood sandhawk is capable of dealing damage to S-rank shenanigans. Flesh and blood AKs are able to easily kill A-rank creeps in seconds. That proves it's no less powerful than the flesh and blood sandhawk. As for the flesh and blood C4, not to mention that power it had experienced firsthand. Su, just how many secrets do you have in you? Chapter 29. Dragon Kingdom Cooperation. Place of Trials. Late night. Agritourism somewhere in the country. Boss, what the hell did you do? Empty Mirror inquired while cautiously peering into the house. It seemed to be afraid that Lin Shi, who was watching TV, would rush out the next moment to give him a soul whip. Su reclined on a wooden recliner, shaking a bushel fan. Just went to their command room and reasoned with them. That's it? Empty Mirror obviously didn't believe Su's words. Su smiled and nodded. That's for sure. They still have reasonable people. Empty Mirror stared tightly at Su Yuyo and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. That unreasonable? Anon, there's two non-speaking to the end of the nest pinched to death. SS. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. Empty Mirror sucked in a breath of cold air. He didn't expect the boss to be so fierce and quietly do such a great thing. No wonder the lighthouse was dead set against dialogue before, but now it's actively seeking a dialogue with the Dragon Kingdom. Turns out the ultimate reason is here. But Su's next sentence made him completely tense up. You know, when I can be reasonable, I'll never make a move. After disposing of those recruiting players, it just so happened that the hackers had breached the firewall. So, Su made a side trip to the Pentagon, ready to talk some sense into them. Originally, they were unwilling to be reasonable. Two of the most bouncy ones were instantly honest when they were pinched. Boss, awesome. Empty Mirror gave a thumbs up and spat in his mind. You are clearly able to do it without BB. Back in the day, there was a small warlord in the Black State who wanted a free meal. As a result, it was then chiseled through by Su himself with his men. Boss, can I tell Uncle Shifu about this? Could be. There's no need to hide this kind of information. Secondly, This news can be used to take the initiative in the Dragon Kingdom during the next cut. After hesitating for a while, Empty Mirror inquired to Suing. Boss, are you really not going to talk to my senior uncle? Eldest, you'll be my agent from now on. Just show up for anything? Before the air mirror arrived, Su made his plans to shift the focus towards the thriller game. The weirdness is his most important client. As for the air mirror, it acts as an agent, handling many things in the real world. Me? Air mirror asked rhetorically, pointing to his nose. Su got up and smiled, patting the empty mirror on the shoulder. Well, in the future, if there's anything you're sure of, you make the decision. If there's anything you can't pinpoint, just call me again. Empty Mirror was well aware of Su's nature. Decisions are made and not easily changed. Okay, boss. By the way, are we still in business? We've sold out our inventory in the Middle East and the Black States. If we don't replenish our supply, we won't be able to ship. Su wanted to give up all the business, but after considering it, he said, second, you send orders and customers to the top in your personal name. It's also convenient that you'll be talking up there later. As the king of underground arms, the customer resources in his hands are terrifying. It's a shame to give it all up. Empty Mirror's eyes widened steeply. What grass? Boss, you're crazy. This is not going to work. The top has tacitly authorized us to do arms business. If you don't do it, you might as well give it away and save up some favors for you. Empty Mirror was moved to tears on the spot. Boss, I'm going to hang out with you for the rest of my life. Asterisk 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 off. Don't be disgusting here. Okay, boss, I'll roll then, and leave you and your sister-in-law alone. Empty Mirror took 2 steps and suddenly turned back, pointing to the motionless stone statue on the floor. He inquired, Boss, do you want this one or not? If not, I'll just pick up the category. What do you need this for? This was none other than the stone statue that One-Eyed Old Ink had transformed into. It wouldn't move now though. Even if he turned his head, the guy wouldn't instantly move behind him. So much so that Lindsay threw him straight to the side. Lindsay, do you still want this crap? What is it? Do you still want that broken stone statue? No more, obviously. Right now, Lindsay's interest in dramas far exceeded that of stone statues. Good loose sister-in-law. Then I pick up to go class. Empty Mirror nimbly bound the stone statue with a rope and carried it over his shoulder. Let's go, boss. Played to death by the boss's contract shenanigans. Might as well take it back and let Uncle Sherfu slice it up and study it. After the Empty Mirror left, Mr. Su shook his bushel fan and returned to his room. What are you looking at? SpongeBob. Good. Su looked at Lin Shi and smiled. Who would have thought that the evil creep, who was horrible to outsiders, would enjoy watching cartoons? After carrying Lin Shi into his arms, he began to calculate his next plan. With that in mind, he opened the panel and found the pass. Hotel Spectre Permanent Pass, current cooldown 36 hours, after cooldown expires, players can use this pass to travel to the Spectre Hotel. Ugh, there's still 36 hours to go before I can get back to the hotel. Lin Shi frowned, backhandedly hugged Su Xiaoyan's neck and pouted her lips as she asked, why go back to that hellhole? Even after only a few hours, it fell in love with the human world. Here, there was no one who could fight it, and there was no threat of SS rank pinnacle shenanigans. Best of all, there's TV to watch and lots of good food. Instead of answering, Su asked in return, just got here and you like it here? Hearing this, Lin Shi hugged Sujo tightly. That's for sure. There's you here and a nice anime to watch. Where is this going? Su smiled and picked up Lin Shi and walked towards the bedroom. Su, what are you doing? Take you for a fun ride. The moment. The Shadow Hotel. Inside the office, the boss delicately played with the bloody sandhawk in his hand. Headless, are you sure this weapon was sold to a customer by Su? Yes, boss. The head of security carefully analyzed the whole process after dealing with the yin and yang shenanigans. After reviewing the surveillance and realizing that Su was peddling weapons to his clients. The first time I spent a lot of money to buy back the flesh and blood sandhawk. After testing, it was discovered that this bizarre flesh and blood sandhawk could actually deal damage to S-rank shenanigans. On the boss's initial return, the head of security then tried to report the incident to it. Unfortunately, at the time, the owner's entire focus was on the bloody C4, and the subsequent trade of the. This has kept it from having a chance to report. Which struck down the yin yang guile was the more powerful blood and flesh AK. But Mr. Su did not sell this weapon to other customers, so I did not get my hands on it. Okay, I get it. You go back. After the head of security left, the black robe on the boss fluttered up. It had originally thought that Su only had flesh and blood C4 as a powerful weapon, but I didn't realize that this was only one of them. The flesh and blood sandhawk is capable of dealing damage to S-rank shenanigans. Flesh and blood AKs are able to easily kill A-rank creeps in seconds. That proves it's no less powerful than the flesh and blood sandhawk. As for the flesh and blood C4, not to mention that power it had experienced firsthand. Sue, just how many secrets do you have in you? Chapter 30, Weird Arms Dealers, First Glimpses, Land of Trials, Interoperability between the parties. Rokoku conveniently helps the boss's side of the training shenanigans. On the boss's side, the staff is out to help players familiarize themselves with the thriller game. The owner was unusually agitated. It knew that Suing said this, and later on, Suing would definitely negotiate with it about the cooperation of other weird weapons. Uncle Lingshu, what do you think? Daoist Spirit Void nodded. No problem. The owner's mind darkened when he got this answer. Steady Spice. Since Su has asked, this is certainly possible. Daoist, since this is a mutually beneficial project, the previously proposed resources, there would be no need to provide it. The human world provides resources no more scarce than a weapons order. The owner simply gave up that part of the benefit. Daoist Spirit Void was shocked at his words. In the previous special team assessment, it was the owner who took the initiative in the business, but now it seems that this is not the case. 3 words made the boss give up the benefits that were within his reach, so you can see the status of Mr. Su here. However, he also guessed why his boss had this back and forth. No, boss, we Longwa people are most concerned about honesty when we talk about business. How much is said is how much is said, and it won't be a little thing that hurts the partners. That silenced the boss. If I take it, what if it leaves a bad impression in Su's mind? In the past 2 days, the boss had realistically felt the huge benefits brought by the blood and flesh C4. Previously, during the discussion with Daoist Spirit Void, it had sidestepped and asked about the source of Su's weapon. In contrast, the spiritual Void Daoist leader did not hide it, and directly informed it that the dragon countryside was also unaware of it. This proves that SOH is the sole supplier. It wouldn't even be a dog basket without Su providing the supply. What's more, now that Flesh and Blood C4 has made a name for itself, there is no shortage of agents. As long as Su wants to recruit agents, the word is spreading. Immediately, a number of major powers will flock to the city. Su looked at his boss's agitated black robe and shook his head with a smile. It seems that business people in this weird world don't use their brains very much. If he went to the human world, the boss guessed that he had been cheated and didn't even know it. Boss, since it's a business that was negotiated before, it's time to take it. Good. With Su taking a stand, it was as if the boss had eaten his heart out. Daoist Spirit Void, do you see anything else you need? Daoist Spirit Void was not polite in the slightest. Since the boss said so. Hearing these words, the boss's heart tightened. It originally wanted to be polite and courteous, but it didn't expect that this Taoist master would really not be polite with it. However, with Su being present, it couldn't say anything more. All that was left was to put on a sprightly attitude and smile. Ha ha, Taoist master, just tell me what you need. Boss, if we Dragon Kingdom players come here to buy weapons, can we give some appropriate discounts? Speaking of this, Daoist Spirit Void sighed. As you know, there are very few creepy coins in the hands of human players. Of course we won't let you lose out, where the difference will be made up with resources. Rub, thought it was something big. The owner's mind was relieved. If the Taoist master really asked for a lion's share of the money, it would not be able to agree. Give weapons a bit of a discount. There are only a few dragon players. Even if it was for nothing, it wouldn't sway it in the slightest. This kind of small matter is certainly possible. When the time comes, I'll set an internal discounted price for dragon players. It is guaranteed that any dragon player who wants to buy a weapon will be able to do so. Seeing that his purpose had been accomplished, Daoist Spirit Void got up and said to this man and his guile, Boss, little Su, then the poor Taoist will leave first, so as not to disturb your business talk. Okay, Taoist, okay, Master Spirit Void. As he passed by Su, Daoist Spirit Void looked at his face. Young people should pay attention to restraint. I'll have Empty Mirror give you supplements to nourish your body later. As for this god, all that is needed is to find a place with a high level of weirdness and sleep, and the symptoms will be relieved. Su was shocked. He didn't expect Daoist Spirit Void to take one look and know what the problem was. It seems that this master uncle of Air Mirror is not simple. Then thank you, Uncle Lingshu. Alright, let's go. When Daoist Spirit Void left, the boss couldn't wait to pull out the Flesh and Blood Sandhawk. Su, do you have a lot more of these goodies in your hands? Without hiding anything, Su nodded with a smile. Quite a lot. Only for a moment. Dozens of weapons were then added to the table, with long guns and short cannons. SS. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. The owner sucked in a breath of cold air. So many weapons? It had originally expected that Su might have several weapons in his hands, but I didn't expect to pull out a dozen different weapons at random. Su, does that mean that these are? Yes, these are some of the new products that need to be sold. Part of it? The owner was keen to capture this keyword. Are there more types of weapons? For a moment, it was in a bit of disbelief. Sue, isn't that all the weapons? Sue shook his head helplessly and sighed in his heart. He had originally thought that hundreds of millions of dollars would be able to unlock the lowest level of the arsenal. But I didn't realize that the press was not enough. The bottom arsenal, a wide variety of weapons. The price per unlock is not high, but you can't beat the variety. He put all his money into it before unlocking a small portion of the weapons. Most of them, unlocked. One can only imagine how much money it takes to fully unlock the underlying arsenal. The owner was completely shocked. The voice quivered slightly as he inquired. Sue, about how many weapons are there in all? Sue glanced at the arsenal. I've got a couple hundred more weapons on my side. More weapons will follow. And the prognosis may reach 2,000. 2,000. 2,000. The number hit the boss's empty head like a giant hammer. It's horrible. This is just horrible. It had previously felt that Sue might rewrite the pattern of the bizarre world. But now, the human in front of him was set to change the landscape of the bizarre world. As long as the two sides remain in a cooperative relationship, then it will inevitably follow this human. The step to the top of the weird world. What started out as a small business is now going to be completely serious. With weapons, then there must be a venue where they are purposely sold. Apparently, the Phantom Hotel doesn't work. Not to mention hundreds, even dozens, can't be displayed in the hotel. Thinking of this, the boss looked at Sue. Sue, any plans? Sue smiled and nodded. Naturally. With that, he took out a plan from the player's storage. This was the planner that Sue had explained to Empty Mirror to work on when he was at the farmhouse. The plan details the steps needed to open a company and the specifics of the process. The boss took the plan and examined it carefully while lamenting. Sue, you're a genius. The question of the company's location. Leave it to me. Chapter 3131. Site selection determined. Creepy mansion. This plan, extremely detailed. Simply follow the program. The range of the ghostly hotel includes a section of dense forest, plants born from the bizarre world, due to absorbing a large amount of bizarre aura. Therefore, there will be a certain amount of mental pollution for human beings, especially since this was interspersed with several trick-eating trees. It was full of uncertainty. Creepy can't carry it yet, let alone human. With that in mind, the boss went ahead alone. It has the Phantom Hotel next to it and has no fear of these. Sue, wait here for me. I'm going to check out the part of the dense forest. Together. Sue, that dense forest is extremely dangerous with the guile-eating tree. Eating tricky trees. There's also this weird stuff. But the boss's next sentence made Sujo happy. That guile-eating tree is full of foreboding. Even without touching it, watching it from afar. It also causes mental pollution to humans and even spooky. I was worried about where to find a place with a heavy energy. Consumption consumes over-exuberant mental energy. There you go. Isn't this just a gift? The main thing is to be able to accurately control the company's location. After all, he's the connoisseur when it comes to this. It just so happens that I need to contaminate the pollution. Together? Boss? No dude. What are you doing? The eating trickster tree had to take a detour even when Trickster saw it. You're a human, and you're going to come up for air? However, thinking back to all the things that Su Yuyo had done before, it released its mind. How can anyone stick their head into its dead space and still be safe? Maybe Su was not human at all. Good. Just as he entered the dense forest, Su detected an unsettling aura. Follow the unsettling scent and search for the past. A giant tree with fruit hanging from its branches comes into view. As Su fixed his eyes on it, his spiritual energy began to drain at a rapid pace. What hung from that note was not fruit at all, but a lifelike and bizarre head. They looked at Su Wing in unison as he surveyed them. One moment, a large amount of unsettling aura gushed out. Instead of dodging, Su took the initiative to absorb the unsettling aura. The scene. The owner looked dumbfounded. It didn't even dare to dip into this unsettling aura. Instead, Su absorbed it as coolly as if it were a meal. This made it, an SS-ranked creepy, feel evil. Good stuff. Good stuff. Su couldn't help but hum softly. It felt as if a cool breeze had been welcomed in the heat of the summer. This caused his originally hyperactive and incomparable mental energy to quickly calm down. But it was less than a minute. The bizarre head turned its head in unison, no longer releasing its unsettling aura. After a moment of stagnation, Su circled around to the other side and absorbed the unsettling aura. This time, the heads held out for no more than a few seconds before choosing to turn their heads. Su wraps around again and his head turns again. After circling around a few times, the heads chose to close their eyes and stop releasing their unsettling aura. Asterisk asterisk. What's wrong with the tree? Su was dumbfounded. The owner stood silent. Obviously, the boss and the eating guile tree were all rendered speechless by Su. Boss, are there any other creepy eater trees in this forest? Yes. The owner is in a state of self-imposed isolation. Couldn't really figure out what kind of monster Su was. Yes. Su was giddy as he searched for the guile-eating tree. This section of the dense forest was not large, and the search was quickly completed. There were only a dozen or so eater trees, all of which were scourged. After doing this, Su was satisfied. When he went back, he could fight with Lin Shi for 300 rounds again. Boss, this place is great. Let's choose the company here. Seeing that the boss didn't reply, Su twisted his head. Only the black robes were seen hanging from the tree, not moving a muscle. Su walks closer, pulls out his gun and pokes and coos at the boss. Boss, what's wrong with you? The owner responded then, though his voice was slightly muddled. Su, you're mentally polluting me. Suzanne? Boss, I'll sue you for libel. You're the creepy one. I'm human. It took a few moments for the owner's voice to return to clarity. Su, what's next? Push off all but the eater of spooky trees. The dozen or so eagle-eating trees are extremely spread out, and leaving them in place won't interfere with the construction of the building. Immediately after that, Su pointed roughly in the direction. Boss, the company's main building was built in this range. Good. The main building drawings. I'll hire someone to design them when I get back. Su didn't understand how buildings were made in the weird world, so he had to leave it all to the boss. Boss, the follow-up construction aspect requires more of your attention. Good. On the way back, the owner inquired. Su, can molded buildings be used directly? Aha! Su was flabbergasted. What kind? A mansion. Su's eyes lit up. Consideration was previously given to the direct construction of a building, but unfortunately this was eventually abandoned. On the one hand, it is expensive and on the other hand, it is time-consuming. The human world is like this. The bizarro world is expected to be much worse. Mr. So is short of both money and time. Still, he made an attempt to inquire. It's okay, how do I get it over here? Seeing that expression on Suzhou's face, the boss was in a good mood. Ha ha, Su, you have no idea. How? Su was a little confused. That building is a creepy prop. The owner then explained it to Su. That building is a broken SS-rated creepy prop, as it is in a broken state. The building does not have accompanying ghosts or spirits as well as rules for killing. This prop has not recognized its owner and can be built in any location of your choice. Asterisk asterisk boss, this building is just right for us. Su couldn't wait to inquire. Where is that prop? Su, just the old goat. Okay, boss, you probe the old goat and see how much you can take. The old goat has a good family and is not short of money. Not short of money? Su thought for 2 seconds before he had a response. Boss, how much stock do you have left there? Hearing Su said this, the boss hurriedly said, Su, you have no idea how hot flesh and blood C4 is. During the time you were gone, dozens of forces, large and small, came to inquire, simply because, during the time that Su was in the process of leaving, in this area, something big happened. Goat Creepy leaned on flesh and blood C4 for just over a dozen hours. In a devastating move, another force was annexed, leading to a surge in orders. In the black market, the price of blood and flesh C4 was even speculated to millions. Boss, here's a good idea. Trade the flesh and blood C4 for that prop. Speaking, Su took out 100 pieces of flesh and blood C4. Okay, I'll do it. Su, why don't you go back to the hotel and wait for my news? The owner immediately departed for the old goat's territory. Inside the hotel, inside the exclusive Supreme VIP room, Su lay on the bed and couldn't stop giggling. Lin Shi, who was lying beside Su Xiaohua and was watching SpongeBob SquarePants, inquired curiously. Su, what are you giggling about? Su returned to his senses and dragged Lin Shi into his arms. In a few days, you'll see. Oops, what are you doing? Chapter 32. For Fire Military Industry. About to take shape. The next day, early in the morning, Su waited in the hotel lobby. Based on the distance traveled, plus the negotiations, the boss should be back in about the same time this time. But what Su didn't expect was, the boss didn't come back, but the empty mirror came first. What brings you here, Dick? Air Mirror shook the package in his hand. Boss, I'll send you some tonic, and in the meantime, I'll go and study the site for building the trial center. Upon his return, Taoist Master Lingshu called a meeting to discuss the matter. Trial centers, how to build them to perfectly fit the needs of both sides. Su Xiaohua took the package handed over by Empty Mirror and hardened his mouth. Your brother and I have twice the body bones. We don't even need this kind of stuff. Empty Mirror asked with a smile without continuing the topic. Boss, what are you doing here this early in the morning? Wait for the boss to come back. Oh, so that's it. Airglass pulled out a map and studied it. Boss, then I'll go to the back of the mountain first. Come on, I'll show you. Su waved his hand, signaling Empty Mirror to come along. It's no fun to wait around here, so I might as well go to the back of the mountain and take a look. You're not waiting for the boss? Air Mirror froze at the news. From his uncle, he learned that Su had an extremely important business deal with his boss. As to what exactly it was, he did not know. No need. Backcountry. Empty Mirror surveyed the location, pulled out his camera and started taking pictures. He wants to document the complete data of the backcountry for subsequent use. By the way, boss, what kind of business are you doing with the boss anyway? In response to Empty Mirror's inquiry, Sue didn't hide it. Arms business. Empty Mirror's face twitched. I thought the boss had gone through a bizarre copy from the good. Never would I have guessed that he was the one who shifted the battlefield and made the arms business to the bizarre world. Does it mean that the boss is now holding all those weird weapons? Thinking of this, Air Mirror took a deep breath. Boss, don't tell me you're holding a lot of those weird weapons. Sue smiled and took out a handful of blood and flesh AKs and threw them to the Empty Mirror. Can't say it's a lot, but it's enough for these shenanigans. By the way, for a short period of time, you should not leak this news out yet. Don't worry, boss, you know how tight-mouthed I am. Sue nodded. It was because of this knowledge that the Air Mirror was informed of the matter. With that said, he spoke up. By the way, Lao Air, when the company is established, come over and give me a hand. Though there are no competitors in the bizarre world, but the relative ability of these shenanigans to keep the company going is questionable. Right now, the businesses in Sue's hands are small. The boss can do it once he's tricked, but what if there are more orders? Relying on other no-brainer shenanigans simply won't keep the company going. Can't have him, the boss, doing everything himself, can we? So, Sue needs helpers to help him get the company up and running. Empty Mirror is the way to go. On the one hand, Sue knew him well enough, and there had never been a mistake in the business that Empty Mirror had handled. On the other hand, Empty Mirror had the relationship of his senior uncle, and communicated with the trial center. It will also be much easier. This statement was made. It really stunned Air Mirror. He thought the boss was simply selling some weapons to Creepy. Never even thought about the company aspect. Boss, you're still going to start a company? Talk to the boss. Sue smiled and patted the Empty Mirror's shoulder. I'm in charge of supplying it, and the owner is in charge of selling it using its contacts. But these guys at Creepy World do business really. It's okay to go small, but if the volume gets up, relying on these bizarre companies that, it doesn't run at all. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. Empty Mirror sucked in a breath of cold air. Terrifying. Boss, you're awesome. The lighthouse wouldn't have dared to mess with you if it had known you were so ruthless. When this topic was mentioned, Sue smiled and inquired, how's it going over there? Are they going to sanction me again? What's the point of sanctioning? The lighthouse side is utterly terrified. The Empty Mirror told Sue Ying what had happened over in the human world. One by one, when the thriller game first came down, Rokoku then proposed the creation of the Creepy Society, rally the forces of mankind against the spooky copy. But instead of agreeing to it, the lighthouse started exporting weapons in a big way, and it has begun to massively increase the number of troops to overseas bases. As a result, even with the thriller game's oppression, the wars in various regions continue unabated. Instead, there is a trend of intensification. In the end, the proposal for the Creepy Society died out. This time, under the threat of Sue, Lighthouse reintroduced this motion and agreed to all ordinances previously proposed. One of the most important ones is that players are not allowed to attack each other. In the real world, they even approached this side privately and informed that the number of weapons exported to the outside world would be drastically reduced. That is, to keep Sue from YNG and ING them again. The Lighthouse sheds a great deal of interest. They're so willing to give it up? Sue was stunned. What about the arms dealers? Empty Mirror looked at Sue Xiaoi with a grumpy face. Boss, you said if something crawls out of the screen in the cold and SU, are you afraid? Hearing this, Mr. Sue scratched his head and said with a smile, fair enough. Next moment, Sohn slapped Air Mirror on the head. Are you kids changing your mind about me? What do you mean a thing crawled out? Am I a thing? Empty Mirror hurriedly begged for mercy. Wrong, boss, I was wrong. By the way, boss, when is that company of yours going to be set up? Honestly, I haven't done business with Creepy yet. I wonder how the Creepy temperament is here. Sue counted the time. Figured the boss should be back by now, no matter how slow he was. When the boss comes back and puts the building in place. That's it? What? Putting the building in place? What's that supposed to mean? Empty Mirror didn't figure out what that meant. Sensing what was going on in Empty Mirror's head, Sue immediately explained. Boss, bought me a mansion from some other creepy hand. In order to make Empty Mirror understand, Su Yuyao even made a point of explaining. That's a creepy prop. It would take too long to build a building. Air Mirror's eyes snapped open. Woohoo! It's still going on. Boss, you're not kidding, are you? Creepy props can still be used like that? Sue smiled and shook his head. Before that, he hadn't thought the trick props could still be used like this. What's more, It was an SS-grade creepy prop that human players couldn't even touch. After all, with this level of props, once signed to become, it is highly likely to become a party of bizarre lords. Thinking of this, Sue said to Empty Mirror, "Let's go. Check on people. If they're back yet." Chapter 33. A little shock for Creepy. The next day, early in the morning, Sue waited in the hotel lobby. Based on the distance traveled, plus the negotiations, the boss should be back in about the same time this time. But what Sue didn't expect was, the boss didn't come back, but the Empty Mirror came first. "What brings you here, Dick?" Air Mirror shook the package in his hand. "Boss, I'll send you some tonic, and in the meantime, I'll go study the site for building the trial center." Upon his return, Taoist Master Lingshu called a meeting to discuss the matter. Trial centers, how to build them to perfectly fit the needs of both sides. Su Shayan took the package handed over by Empty Mirror and hardened his mouth. "Your brother and I have great bones. I don't even need this kind of stuff." Empty Mirror asked with a smile without continuing the topic. "Boss, what are you doing here this early in the morning?" "Wait for the boss to come back." "Oh, so that's it." Airglass pulled out a map and studied it. "Boss, then I'll go to the back of the mountain first." "Come on, I'll show you." Su waved his hand, signaling Empty Mirror to come along. "It's no fun to wait around here, so I might as well go to the back of the mountain and take a look." "You're not waiting for the boss?" Air Mirror froze at the news. From his uncle, he learned that Su had an extremely important business deal with his boss. As to what exactly it was, he did not know. "No need." Backcountry. Empty Mirror surveyed the location, pulled out his camera and started taking pictures. He wants to document the complete data of the backcountry for subsequent use. "By the way, boss, what kind of business are you doing with the boss anyway?" In response to Empty Mirror's inquiry, Su didn't hide it. "Arms business." Empty Mirror's face twitched. "I thought the boss had gone through a bizarre copy from the good. Never would I have guessed that he was the one who shifted the battlefield and made the arms business to the bizarre world. Does it mean that the boss is now holding all those weird weapons?" Thinking of this, Air Mirror took a deep breath. "Boss, don't tell me you're holding a lot of those weird weapons." Su smiled and took out a handful of blood and flesh AKs and threw them to the Empty Mirror. "Can't say it's a lot, but it's enough for these shenanigans. By the way, for a short period of time, you should not leak this news out yet." "Don't worry, boss, you know how tight-mouthed I am." Su nodded. It was because of this knowledge that the Air Mirror was informed of the matter. With that said, he spoke up. "By the way, Lao Air, when the company is established, come over and give me a hand. Though there are no competitors in the bizarre world, but the relative ability of these shenanigans to keep the company going is questionable. Right now, the businesses in Su's hands are small. The boss can do it once he's tricked, but what if there are more orders? Relying on other no-brainer shenanigans simply won't keep the company going. Can't have him, the boss, doing everything himself, can we? So, Su needs helpers to help him get the company up and running. Empty Mirror is the way to go." On the one hand, Su knew him well enough, and there had never been a mistake in the business that Empty Mirror handled. On the other hand, Empty Mirror had the relationship of his senior uncle, and communicated with the trial center. It will also be much easier. "Ha!" This statement was made. It really stunned Air Mirror. He thought the boss was simply selling some weapons to Creepy. Never even thought about the company aspect. "Boss, you're still going to start a company?" "Talk to the boss." Su smiled and patted the Empty Mirror's shoulder. "I'm in charge of supplying it, and the owner is in charge of selling it using its contacts. But these guys at Creepy World do business really. It's okay to go small, but if the volume gets up, relying on these bizarre companies that, it doesn't run at all." SS. Sound of air sucked between the teeth, indicating hesitation or thinking over. Empty Mirror sucked in a breath of cold air. "Terrifying. Boss, you're awesome. The lighthouse wouldn't have dared to mess with you if it had known you were so ruthless." When this topic was mentioned, Su smiled and inquired, "How's it going over there? Are they going to sanction me again?" "What's the point of sanctioning? The lighthouse side is utterly terrified." The Empty Mirror told Su Ying what had happened over in the human world. One by one, when the thriller game first came down, Rokoku then proposed the creation of the Creepy Society, rally the forces of mankind against the spooky copy. But instead of agreeing to it, the lighthouse started exporting weapons in a big way, and it has begun to massively increase the number of troops to overseas bases. As a result, even with the thriller game's oppression, the wars in various regions continue unabated. Instead, there is a trend of intensification. In the end, the proposal for the Creepy Society died out. This time, under the threat of Su, Lighthouse reintroduced this motion and agreed to all ordinances previously proposed. One of the most important ones is that players are not allowed to attack each other. In the real world, They even approached the side privately and informed that the number of weapons exported to the outside world would be drastically reduced. That is, to keep Sue from YNG and ING them again. The lighthouse sheds a great deal of interest. They're so willing to give it up? Sue was stunned. What about the arms dealers? Empty Mirror looked at Sue Xiaoi with a grumpy face. Boss, you said if something crawls out of the screen in the cold and SU. Are you afraid? Hearing this, Mr. Sue scratched his head and said with a smile. Fair enough. Next moment, Sohn slapped Air Mirror on the head. Are you kids changing your mind about me? What do you mean a thing crawled out? Am I a thing? Empty Mirror hurriedly begged for mercy. Wrong, boss, I was wrong. By the way, boss, when is that company of yours going to be set up? Honestly, I haven't done business with Creepy yet. I wonder how the creepy temperament is here. Sue counted the time. Figured the boss should be back by now, no matter how slow he was. When the boss comes back and puts the building in place. That's it? What? Put the building in place? What's that supposed to mean? Empty Mirror didn't figure out what that meant. Sensing what was going on in Empty Mirror's head, Sue immediately explained. Boss, bought me a mansion from some other creepy hand. In order to make him understand, Sue also made a point of, am I a thing? Empty Mirror hurriedly begged for mercy. Wrong, boss, I was wrong. By the way, boss, when is that company of yours going to be set up? Honestly, I haven't done business with Creepy yet. I wonder how the creepy temperament is here. Sue counted the time. Figured the boss should be back by now, no matter how slow he was. When the boss comes back and puts the building in place. That's it? What? Putting the building in place? What's that supposed to mean? Empty Mirror didn't figure out what that meant. Sensing what was going on in Empty Mirror's head, Sue immediately explained.